What is going on, everybody? It's the France, and we're here for Unscripted number 85 for your September 8th, 2019. This has been a very newsworthy edition of Unscripted. A very newsworthy week of wrestling from WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, and just so much going on. From stolen title matches to two men having their final match in Impact Wrestling, to Monday Night Raw and WWE screwing up the King of the Ring. Creative has a shakeup, the possibility of a draft coming next month. Just so much to go over. But of course, what's really used to go over from first thing off the show? Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. What did happen in this week? Of course, the biggest things coming out of Monday Night Raw. The team of Fire and Desire beat the Tag Team Champions, and AJ Styles attacked Cedric Alexander, which looks to set up. I know they announced Cedric Alexander versus AJ Styles in a non-title match this coming Monday, but obviously it's going to be the same thing that happened with Fire and Desire this week, in which they beat the Tag Team Champions of Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, and that match has been named for Clash of Champions. AJ will lose to Cedric by hook or by crook, and then we're going to get Cedric Alexander versus AJ Styles at Clash of Champions. Now, the biggest problem I have with this is the fact that you took Cedric Alexander, who, if you would have given us a great, for Cedric Alexander, last week, of course, Baron Corbin versus Cedric was built for Cedric Alexander to shine in that match with Baron Corbin. But Cedric Alexander winning that match would have been much better than having Baron Corbin win. There's absolutely no reason I want to see Baron Corbin make it to the finals. Yes, I know Baron Corbin is going to make it to the finals. At least that's what it feels like he's going to. Because Vince McMahon has a huge boner or hard-on for Baron Corbin that we fans reject him. So what's he going to do? He's going to push him further. It's the Roman Reigns effect. It's the Roman Reigns from 2015 to last year that we didn't like Roman. We didn't want Roman to be pushed to the exact top. So Vince McMahon just said, you know what? I know what's good for the WWE Universe. I know what's best. Roman is what's best. And we're going to push him to the moon. And that's what happened, and why Roman Reigns got pushed to the moon is because Vince McMahon felt like he was the guy, and he wasn't. Roman was never ready. Baron Corbin is not ready. The King of the Ring, in my opinion, after this week's Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, has become an absolute joke. Having Cedric Alexander and Ali and Andrade all out in the same week is kind of a damn shame. Yes, Andrade and Chad Gable, which we'll get to in a second, put on a fantastic match, but having those three guys out, which one of those three guys, and yes, Chad Gable winning the King of the Ring would be fantastic for him. It could help shoot him to the top, which I don't see happening. Having Ali versus Andrade in the semifinals for SmackDown next week would have been fantastic. Having Cedric versus Ricochet in the semifinals would be fantastic. But of course, that wouldn't happen. Even Cedric versus Samoa Joe in the semifinals would have been better than what they're doing on Monday Night Raw. What did they do? They had Cedric Alexander lose to Baron Corbin because with the ill effects of what happened with AJ Styles earlier on the show, which again is setting up AJ versus Cedric this week. Non-title match, which will see Cedric win that match, and when that's the only match. The only match right now that the only title that does not have a match at Clash of Champions is AJ Styles, and that's going to be Cedric Alexander. So that is going to be all your matches. There's about 12 matches going into the show for Clash of Champions. That's the World Title, the WWE Championship, the Universal Championship, three Tag Team title matches, the United States, the Intercontinental, the Women's Championship, for Raw and SmackDown, and the Cruiserweight Championship. That's 10 matches right there. Then you have Roman versus Rowan and the King of the Ring finals. That's 12 matches. Yes, I know, it can't be helped that, they have to have at least 11 matches because you have 10 titles and the King of the Ring. That doesn't mean that this is the problem with this, is the fact that you have Clash of Champions coming up and every championship is going to be on the line. It would be fine if it was went back in 2000, I think it was 16, when they had it for SmackDown and we had the brand split that was actually intact. It was fine because you would have the world title, the Raw, the tag titles, the women's championship, and that was it. 3 titles on the line, not a problem. But now you have 10 titles, one show, and it's just going to be one of those long, drawn-out pay-per-views. We give WWE flack because, yes, they've been doing long, drawn-out pay-per-views since the network became a thing. AEW is going to get this same flack too from me and probably others if they continue to do the same thing. 3-hour pay-per-views is the sweet spot. We do not need to have 4-hour pay-per-views. Now, I understand for AEW because they don't have TV yet. That doesn't start till next month. The first 4 shows being 4 hours plus getting as much talent as they could on these pay-per-views is fine because they don't have TV. We're getting to TV. Full Gear is their next pay-per-view coming up. I do not want to see Full Gear be more than 8 matches and that show go over 3 hours. Make it 7 matches if you have to and go over 3 hours. I do not want to go over 3 hours. It should be 3 hours and that's it. Now, as I was stating, what happened with the King of the Ring? We're going to show you what happened with the King of the Ring, as this is our bracket coming into King of the Ring this coming Monday. Ricochet, Samoa Joe, and Baron Corbin. Why did this happen? Why was the atrocity of having Baron Corbin, Ricochet, and Samoa Joe being the triple threat match? You had all 4 shoulders pinned in the match with Ricochet and Samoa Joe. Well, during this week's Raw, Baron Corbin defeated Cedric Alexander to advance in the King of the Ring. They could have took the BS route and said, well, so Ricochet and Samoa Joe canceled themselves out, so Baron Corbin's in the finals. You know how pissed off everyone was going to be? And just the way they set it up. You had them double pin each other, which both guys were on the mat, and if you look at a different camera angle again, from around the turnbuckle, where they fell down, Ricochet's left arm looks like elbow looks like it's resting on Samoa Joe, so his shoulder would not be down. So Ricochet should have won the match if they would have went with camera angles. But John Cone pinned both guys, counted both guys down, goes over to a headset, puts it on, and just talks to somebody. We don't know who he's talking about to. It could be Vince, it could be Triple H, it could be Shane, it could be Stephanie, it could be another referee that we don't know. They did not mention who he's talking to. If you're going to go to the headset thing, like NFL, NBA, or NCAA and everyone else do, you need to have that person designated. Who is he talking to? So we know who the fuck he's talking to, what that person's role is. Like, it could be, oh, he's talking to Triple H back there because Triple H is whatever. You need to establish who's on the other line so we're not sitting there looking like fucking, like, you are fans who are watching at home are like, what the hell is he talking to? Who is he talking to? Cone says, oh, I'll take it under advisement, walks past Ricochet and Samoa Joe and says, well, we'll have a decision later, and walks to the back. Instead of on the headset, we just restart the match. And then restarting the match to continue to see who's going to win this thing and go on to face Baron Corbin in the next week. In next week's Raw Brand show from MSG, we'll see Corbin, Ricochet, and Joe go to a triple threat match with a spot in the finals on the line. With King of the Ring being a knockout tournament, having a triple threat match is an unprecedented move by WWE. But those over at Wrestling Observer Radio are reporting that the new bout is being put on for a very good reason. Actually, I don't give a fuck what they say. I don't care who you're trying to showcase. There is no reason to fuck a tournament up so badly that you make it a triple threat match. It's the future Ricochet, the clear underdog of the match. The former NXT North American champion has been earmarked for a big future on Monday Night Raw by executive director Paul Heyman. They're doing a 3-way, which actually makes no sense, but the idea is to actually showcase Ricochet, which is not saying that he's necessarily winning. He might be, but the idea is that the match at the Garden, Ricochet is going to be there as a babyface against 2 heels and 2 big heels, and he's not a big guy, so their dynamic the dynamic is supposed to work for him. I mean, the match is for him. Those are words of Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer, I believe on Thursday or Friday. Thursday, I believe it is. However, WWE does realize that Samoa Joe Like this is gonna backfire for them big time. The King of the Ring should have been used to showcase like Cedric Alexander, Andrade, Chad Gable, Ricochet, and others who Ali, Buddy Murphy, and Ali, in my opinion, should have been a semifinals match. Get both of those two wins. The Chad Gable Andrade semifinals, that should have been Buddy Murphy and Ali, if of anything. And then you could have had Andrade versus somebody else in the other one. Because, quite honestly, Elias should not be winning his, but we'll get to that later. So, WWE is, instead of keeping the King of the Ring to be just how it should be, keeping it sacred, keeping it and not fucking up, they decide, well, we need to showcase Ricochet because I'm telling you the real reason they're doing this. They don't have faith in Ricochet and Baron Corbin being able to put on a match like Baron Corbin and Cedric Alexander did, which All Out was last week. A week ago yesterday. All Out was last week. WWE's answer to All Out was Baron Corbin and Elias putting on probably their best matches ever. Both guys winning, and I think that was the wrong call, but those guys both winning and having the best matches of their career. Now, they probably don't feel that Baron Corbin can do that again with a guy like Ricochet, so they want Samoa Joe to be there. And honestly, if they're earmarking Ricochet to be a big star on Monday Night Raw, they want to push Baron Corbin, Samoa Joe takes the pinfall in this match. That's the only reason they made this triple threat match. They don't want to pin Ricochet, they don't want to pin Baron Corbin. Samoa Joe takes the pinfall, and quite honestly, Samoa Joe is the only guy in this entire triple threat match that can afford to take a pinfall. So that is why they have done that. Is it going to be a good match? I don't know. It should be the main event, and I don't mean it's the last match of the show and then we get this stupid fucking contract signing they're doing with Stone Cold Steve Austin as the moderator at the end of the show. This should be your main event. As the show goes off the air, we know who's going into Clash of Champions in the King of the Ring tournament. Same thing with SmackDown. Some Elias and Chad Gable needs to be the main event. Not this Roman Reigns shit that's been going on where we have the main event match and then we cut to that thing. No. This needs to be the main event of Madison Square Garden. The King of the Ring needs to have that going for it. Now, do I see Baron Corbin still winning? Yes. It's just, to me, until I see Ricochet or Samoa Joe getting that pinfall or getting that submission, which is going to be a pinfall, I don't think there's hardly ever a submission in a triple threat match, but I see this going to be Baron Corbin's way. Samoa Joe, here's how it's going to be. Ricochet is having his big spotlight match. He's going out there. He's looking like $1 million. Hits the 630. Baron Corbin does what he did for the United States Championship about 2 years ago. Comes in, grabs Ricochet, throws him out, and steals the win from Ricochet for the 1, 2, 3, and moving on. That's exactly what the hell they're going to be doing. Baron Corbin moves to the finals, and we all know what's going to happen there. Which, honestly, this match right here will tell you who's going to win tomorrow, the next night. Now, they did tease Chad Gable and Samoa Joe on SmackDown the next night. But I don't think we're going to get... If Chad Gable's winning, I don't think it's going to be Samoa Joe winning it. All I know is if Ricochet's not winning, he's going to be in part of the final sequence. He's going to hit the 630 on either Baron Corbin or Samoa Joe, which I don't think it's going to be. I don't think Samoa Joe's winning. So I think it's going to be Samoa Joe. Corbin's going to come in, throw him out of the ring, and then go pin Samoa Joe and to move on. That's exactly what they're going to do. And the most talked about thing coming out of Monday Night Raw was in the main event you had a showcase. So I got this wrong. Fire and Desire didn't face the tag team champions tonight. That was the next night. My bad. Fire and Desire faced the tag team champions the next night. My bad. That was the next night. But it's still prevalent to what I was talking about earlier. Bayley and Becky Lynch, who were the women's champions of their brand, took on the tag team champions on Monday. I know I said that earlier. Fetch that out. Sasha Banks comes out. She's wearing this black and gold attire, which looked really good on her. She comes out. She attacks. Becky Lynch tags in. She gets a nice babyface run. Sasha Banks comes in, attacks her, grabs a chair, starts beating her down, beating her with it. Bayley comes in, takes the chair. The crowd knows where this is going. She has that crooked, evil smile on her face, and then she starts attacking Becky Lynch. Crowd goes nuts. The show goes off the air with Becky and Bayley and Sasha Banks standing tall. I wish I could be talking about how this has been a great thing. WWE did the right thing. And then we moved to SmackDown Live. How did SmackDown Live open? Bayley coming out to the same music, the Bayley Buddies, acting like nothing she did the night before was anything. She was her old, plain, babyface self. Now, if she's coming out with the delusionalness that she's like delusion that she's a heel, that she's not a heel, she's doing everything, she was just standing up for a friend, I can understand that. But she had no heel tendencies at all. There was some boos, a lot of people were cheering. Charlotte came out, they had a little talk. Sasha Banks came out, Charlotte attacked Bayley. Sasha Banks then came in and attacked Charlotte. Bayley and Sasha beat the hell out of Charlotte. So this leads to what's happening tomorrow night. Tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw, Sasha Banks and Bayley are going to be taking on, yes, the Boston, as I'm calling them, the Boston Thug Connection, are back together to take on the other two Four Horsewomen of Charlotte and Becky Lynch. First off, this match is only happening because of what happened on Monday and Tuesday. Second, this is a pay-per-view match. No doubt about it. Yes. That is why, in my opinion, they could have an elimination or some kind of two pinfall fatal four-way at the pay-per-view. Cut these matches down to where we could have the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships on the line in a fatal four-way. Something like when you had that triple threat match a couple years ago, or back in the Attitude Era, like the end of the Attitude Era, where you had Chris Jericho, I believe, and Kurt Angle in a triple threat match for the European Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. Both titles on the line. However, it was a two pinfall match. The first pinfall, I believe, was for the Intercontinental title, and the second pinfall was for the European Championship. Either way, they could do that in this match. You bring the matches down to 11. You could do that where it's like all four horsewomen are in a match. You could have the first title on the line is Bayley's title, and the second title on the line is Becky's title. And whoever gets the first pinfall is the champion. And then here's the thing. Here's how you would make this so you don't get a double champion. The first person gets the pinfall, wins Bayley's championship, and is out of the match, so it's down to a triple threat match. Which, if Charlotte was to beat Bayley, then that would leave Becky and Sasha Banks and Bayley in a triple threat match, but even Becky and Sasha Banks Bayley and Sasha Banks to beat down Becky, to let Bayley allow Sasha to win the championship if they wanted to do that. And there you go. That's if you wanted to do that. That's what I would somewhat want to do that, but it kind of was like irksome. We get to SmackDown Live. They showed us what happened on Monday Night Raw. I have a smile on my face, like, yeah, this was awesome. I can't wait to see what her explanation is. And then that smile just evaporated because Bayley was just Bayley. Nothing changed. It was just Bayley being happy-go-lucky. She didn't act like nothing was different. She's like, oh, how is anyone confused? They didn't see my friendship with Sasha Banks coming? She's been my friend forever, even though back in NXT we used to kill each other. Oh, it was like SmackDown Live this week was, the first segment and the last segment were very fucking confusing, and everything in between was just there. We did have two King of the Ring matches, which were pretty good. Those were set. We have Elias, as we know, Chad Gable, and Elias for the semifinals for SmackDown. With the fact that they're building Elias up, I think Chad Gable could possibly win this entire thing, or win the SmackDown side and go to the main event, go to Clash of Champions to be the King of the Ring winner. But I'm not going to put that all the way there. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think that that's going to be the way it goes. Elias is going to not... There's no reason... Now, here's the thing another people are going to be worrying. If Elias beats Chad Gable, a lot of people are worried that if Elias beats Chad Gable, Shane McMahon is going to interject himself and take Elias' spot in the finals and win King of the Ring. So he's not just the best in the world, but he's also King of the Ring. Honestly, if they do that, that would be the dumbest thing they ever done. That'd be the dumbest thing they ever did. The reason the best of the world really wasn't that dumb is because almost nobody watched Crown Jewel last year. Nobody cared about Crown Jewel. It was one of the worst events in WWE's complete history. And quite honestly, it just not something I would really care about. But if Shane McMahon wins King of the Ring, you are playing with fire. And honestly, in my opinion, I think that would definitely kill. They would kill SmackDown Live before they get to Fox. I think SmackDown Live would be DOA to Fox faster than anyone thinks it is. The only other big thing happening on SmackDown, because quite honestly, yes, we had the revival and Randy Orton beat up Kofi Kingston, but that's same old shit, different day, was the half-assed booking of this entire Roman Reigns storyline. And we'll talk about it in a bit because this storyline has been so botched and so fucked up and just so poorly done that it is going to change WWE's creative team forever. They've shaken up the entire creative team because of how piss poor the storyline has been. This storyline, which I listened to a little bit of Wade Keller's podcast recently this week, and they talk about, and it's true, this storyline outside of the Buddy Murphy stuff has been isolated from everything else on Monday Night Raw on SmackDown Live. Other than Buddy Murphy, which he got a little bit out of this, he got to be in the King of the Ring. He got to have 3 excellent matches back-to-back weeks with Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, and Ali, which I was hoping he would beat Ali so he can continue in the King of the Ring, but that's neither here nor there. They could have had this thing. They could have taken from WrestleMania till SummerSlam to write out this story that you wanted to book for Roman Reigns, and it's isolated from everything else. This is something that Vince McMahon or whoever's writing the story should have been keeping close to the chest and working with Vince McMahon while all the other stuff gets thrown in at the last second. You know this is going to be on the show. This thing should have been worked out weeks ago. Yes, I know the whole Buddy Murphy thing was by accident. He wasn't supposed to be there, but this has been so bad, and it's been week to week. They're ripping up the script, they're rewriting the script, and they're coming up with this shit on the fly. This storyline, whatever comes out of it, whether it's Daniel Bryan actually did it, or Rowan, which they did have Rowan admit this week that it was him. It looks like Daniel Bryan is babyface, which it could be a red herring. And I listened to the Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez show talk about it a couple days ago. And Dave asked people in WWE, and they don't even know what's going to happen. If it's actually Rowan, if Daniel Bryan had anything to do with it. Now, the video we've seen of Roman Reigns getting that scaffolding stuff thrown on him, we've only seen the side where Roman is falling, where it's falling onto Roman. We haven't seen from the other end. We still, to this day, and this has been about a month and a half, don't know who drove the forklift. We don't. We don't know who drove the forklift. That could have been Daniel Bryan. It could have been Rowan. I mean, not Rowan. It could have been Harper. You know how great that would have been to see Harper, after all these months, finally get used and be used in a positive way. Bring the Bludgeon Brothers to an extent back together and have Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns versus the Bludgeon Brothers. That would have been fucking great. It's like, I've attacked you, but yes, it was me, but I didn't do it alone. He points to the screen. We get the reverse shot. Which shows Harper driving the forklift. And it's like, what? We go back, and Harper is just standing there. Like, the lights go out, lights come back on, and Harper's standing there with Rowan in the middle of the ring. Those two are back together, and boom, here we go. But no, they had a good way to bring somebody back, be able to have to use somebody, but oh yeah, Vince McMahon doesn't want to use him because he can't do a southern accent, you hear? Who cares? I can't wait till Brody Lee is free of his WWE chains and can go to AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, or Impact Wrestling. But other than that, not much else happened on SmackDown Live. It's just the first segment and the final segment had me so goddamn confused. I don't know where WWE is going with half of this shit, and quite honestly, people are losing interest in this Roman Reigns storyline week by week by week. And also Bayley teasing a heel turn only to be cheered to the point that where, oh, I'm not a heel, I just want to show that I could be a champion like Becky. Oh god, my head hurts. Now, they're going to have Becky, Charlotte, Bayley, and Sasha Banks in the ring in a tag team match this coming Monday. The crowd reaction in Madison Square Garden will be crucial. No, they're not selling out Madison Square Garden. And if you go to Ticketmaster right now, there are a ton of tickets left for Monday and Tuesday. But we will see with the for the 100 people who are there, how they react to Bayley and Becky on Monday. Will tell you everything we need to know about this entire Bayley quote-unquote heel turn. Everyone's favorite favorite Wednesday night show for now is NXT. And the biggest things that we need to talk about is Breezango made their official Full Sail live in-ring debut to new theme music. We're no longer mashing up Breeze and Fandango's theme songs, which I fucking hate when people do that. Now, Breeze and Fandango's wasn't the worst. I mean, Kairi Sane and Asuka's is one of the worst out there. I wish they would give them an actual theme. Of course, it took them forever to get Fire and Desire an actual ring Titantron, and having the ring announcers actually call them Fire and Desire. So I don't have hope for Kairi Sane and Asuka. However, this was fucking great. You're just sitting there and it's like this voice comes and says Breezango or something like that, and you just hear it's black. It's completely black. You hear the sirens go off. And then they show up, and it's like, oh shit, they got new theme music. That is fucking awesome. They took on the former 3 Team 3.0, beat them down pretty easily. Team 3.0 did get some offense on them, so possibly they are getting sent up to be a tag team eventually, because NXT is going to need tag teams going to 2 hours. They have viable tag teams. They have the Forgotten Sons, the Street Profits right now, Undisputed Era, and that's really it. So, and Breezango, yeah, that's 4 tag teams. So Team 3.0, or whatever they're going to call them, that would make it a 5. And if you can get one of them, and Mustache Mountain can come over too, and the Grizzled Young Bucks, that's 7 tag teams, healthy tag team division right there. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but Breezango, new theme music, definitely a good start. They were wearing matching color attire with black and silver, which definitely awesome. Velveteen Dream buried and pretty much destroyed Kona Reeves, who can't decide what he's going to wear to the ring, as it changes on a constant. Every time we see Kona Reeves come out to the ring, he's always wearing something new. It might be a new chain, a new coat, a new shirt, new ring attire, his hair might be styled a little bit differently. He's always changing his look up. Now, I can understand this is NXT, so I guess he can do that. But the dude's got to stick to a look and go with it. And try, Kona Reeves is one of these guys that's like, who is Kona Reeves? Why should I care about Kona Reeves? But that's not the biggest talking point of this entire segment, because after he was dispatched by Velveteen Dream, Roderick Strong shows up on the Titantron, and we see that he has burned down Velveteen Dream's velvety couch. It has been announced that on the first episode of NXT on the USA Network, and I don't know if this is going to show up on USA Network because for some goddamn reason, the first 2 episodes of NXT are going to be not 8 to 9 on USA, and then 9 to 10 on the network. So, Roderick Strong versus Velveteen Dream is either going to be on the network or on USA. Probably the network. Same thing with Shayna Baszler, who's going to become a number 1 contender between Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Mia Yim. So, another thing about that before we get to my final point for this one. So, Roderick Strong versus Velveteen Dream. I could see them giving it to Strong, but I don't think they should give it to Strong just yet. Maybe something happens, he gets screwed out of the championship, and we get that at War Games. The championship should change hands at War Games. Everyone's like, oh, well, there needs to be a big title change to show that anything can happen on NXT. No! If it wasn't in the plans before they decided to go live every week at Full Sail, you don't need to change your fucking plans for this. If the title match was always supposed to happen 2 weeks after the entire couch burning incident, I am fine with that. If it's going to happen, then fine, you do that. Or if it was supposed to happen in those last 8 set of tapings, because they were going to tape 8 weeks of TV, if it was supposed to happen and Roderick Strong's not supposed to win, but it's not a clean victory for the Velveteen Dream, and you're leading to a War Games show, a match at War Games, then fine. Another thing that I haven't seen yet, and NXT really hasn't teased it this year, who's going to be in War Games? Hell, by this time last year, we already knew that it was going to be the Undisputed Era, War Raiders, Pete Dunne and Ricochet. Well, it was mostly, we knew it was going to be War Raiders and Ricochet and possibly Pete Dunne. We knew that was going to come around, and it was just them getting there. It was just like, I know we're only in September, and we have all of October, and I think a little bit in November, but we need to start seeing who's going to be in War Games. Yes, they're going to 2 hours, so that's great. But, hell, we, like, people who actually pay attention to this shit, knew pretty much that the Undisputed Era were going to be in War Games. It was going to be, Pete Dunne was going to be on the other team. The War Raiders were probably going to be on the other team too, war in their name, and it makes sense. The fourth person just didn't make sense. There were a lot of people speculating we were going to have the Undisputed Era versus British Strong Style versus Ricochet and the War Raiders. I didn't want to see that. I didn't want another triple threat War Games match. I think that's a little bit too much. I'm glad they had the traditional War Games. I keep saying that I want to see, if they want to do this, and I think this is something they could do, Team UK, NXT UK versus NXT, or the first ever women's War Game match, Team Horsewomen of Shayna Baszler, Jessamine Duke, and Marina Shafir, if they want to give them Io Shirai too, because she's a heel as well, versus Mia Yim, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley, which she's a babyface on NXT for some reason, and probably Dakota Kai or Tegan Nox, who are coming back from injury. That would be fine. I would love to see what those 8 women. I would love to see what 8 women can do in the War Games match. I think they would do just fine. But I don't know. War Games is something I'm looking forward to. I look forward to it every year since this is the 3rd year in a row we're getting it. I fucking love a War Games match. I just hope NXT can bring it this year. However, so that's going to be happening in 2 weeks. We have Shayna Baszler's #1 contender will be decided. I don't know if it's going to happen at War Games because, again, they have so long to go, or if they're going to have the #1 contender decided, and that's going to be on the first episode to go head-to-head with AEW, which, honestly, in my opinion, I think that's where they're going to go. Coming back to this week, we had Jordan Myles cashing in his breakout tournament title match versus Adam Cole. My only negative for this entire thing is that I think they shoved out the breakout tournament match a little too soon. Jordan Myles was guaranteed a title shot. They didn't have to. He could have. Of course, you're going to go for the NXT Championship. Why wouldn't you go for the NXT Championship? You went through 8. You survived over 8 other guys in a tournament. You won 3 matches to win this tournament to go to pick whoever you want. You're going to go for the NXT Championship. However, I wish they would have waited. I think they could have waited till TV. This would have been the first thing on that. Like, they could have waited till October 2nd. This would have been the match I would have had on October 2nd. The first match that you have against, in the main event that you have against AEW. I would have had Jordan Myles have a match during this set of tapings that they did, and the next set of, and since they are going to TV Live, the first episode on September 18th, I would have had Jordan Myles wrestle a match there against maybe an Undisputed Era member, maybe somebody who thinks that Adam Cole's he's beneath Roderick Strong. He would go up against Roderick Strong, but of course the fact that they didn't do that is because Roderick Strong is challenging the Velveteen Dream on that episode. I would have went with having Jordan Myles take on Roderick Strong, sneakily beat him, gaining momentum to take on Adam Cole, and then still getting the match that we got against Adam Cole, which was a fantastic match. Jordan Myles is just not there yet. Jordan Myles is one of those guys, and a lot of these guys coming out of the breakout tournament, which I think all of them. Who is Jordan Myles? Why is Jordan Miles who he is? Why should I care about Jordan Miles? Why am I spending my time on Wednesdays wanting to see Jordan Miles in the ring? Yes, he's good in the ring. He is fantastic in the ring. He and Adam Cole put on a fantastic match. It's just, where is Jordan Miles? Why should it's like, who is Jordan Miles? We're not there yet. Johnny Gargano, we know who he is. Adam Cole, we know who he is. Tommaso Ciampa, we know who he is. We're going to see a new version of Tommaso Ciampa when he comes back. In my opinion, what would be the biggest thing that ever happened on NXT on October 2nd, if it could happen, which I don't think it can? Ciampa makes his return. Can it happen? Most likely not, but if it could happen, that would be like fucking awesome. Having Ciampa come back in, not a surprise, like, it would have to be a surprise. Like, Ciampa makes his return to NXT on October 2nd, and when they go up against AEW. That would be fucking fantastic. It cannot probably happen because he's still not there yet. We don't expect to see Ciampa back till next year. Now, that is NXT, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. NXT, good show this week. Jordan Miles is definitely, he left you wanting more to see, like, Jordan Miles left you wanting more to see what this guy can do in NXT. It's just, he needs to work on who he is, why he smiles so much. Like, when he's getting ready for hyped up for a match, does he get serious? Because when they were doing the ring introductions for that match, it's like, they introduced Jordan Miles, and he had that smile, and then he looked at Adam Cole, and he had that serious look, that stone-faced look he had on his face when he came walking out in the sensor gear, holding his contract for the breakout tournament like a Bible. Yeah. But Jordan Miles is not where we need to see him yet. Hopefully we'll see him down the road actually have a personality. We'll have a character to him. We'll know exactly who the hell he is, because right now I don't know who he is. I didn't know who ACH was on the indies. So Jordan Miles eventually will get where he's at, where he needs to be. It's just not yet. Usually we leave the AEW news for the end of the show, but I got to start with this one. I think Chris Jericho had a little bit of the bubbly, a little too much of it, which has become a huge thing on Twitter. A little bit of the bubbly had taken over Twitter this week. I've seen What Culture do videos and have it said. Ryan Zane said something about it in his reference to it in his What Better. Just so much happening this week. We've had somebody take the entire "We Will Rock You" song and just splice it all up and everything with bubbly and like Chris Jericho's bubbly in there. It's just really weird. But the AEW World Champion Chris Jericho had his belt stolen just days after becoming the inaugural champion by defeating Adam Page in the main event at Saturday's All Out pay-per-view. A local police blotter in Tallahassee, Florida listed the incident, reported Jericho apparently had the title go missing while he was eating dinner inside a Longhorn Steakhouse at 2400 North Monroe Street. Police were called and an investigation was launched. The victim reported that the theft of his championship wrestling belt while he was eating inside the Longhorn Steakhouse. The victim stated he arrived at the Millionaire Club airport terminal and placed the belt inside his rented limousine. The limo driver shuttled the victim to Longhorn for dinner. The victim remained at Longhorn while the limo driver returned to the airport. The victim had taken the wrong luggage from the airport, and the driver took it back to the terminal. When the driver picked up the victim from the restaurant, the belt was missing. First off, in my opinion, that belt's not leaving my sight. That's gonna if it's in I would have it in a suitcase with those number locks on it that you have to put in a certain number thing to get it to show up. I'm putting that thing. I'm handcuffing it to my arm, and it's going absolutely nowhere until I'm at home. Plain and simple. That thing stays on my persons till I'm home. The driver picked up the victim from the restaurant. The belt was missing. Responding officers searched the limo and airport for the belt without success. On call, CID was consulted and forensic responses to the scene. The report listed Jericho as the victim, Christopher Jericho Irvine. Now, a lot of people were speculating, oh, this is just a work. Jericho's doing everything he can to, get the thing talking. This was not a work. This was not a storyline. This was not something that he came up with. This was legitimate. You cannot fake a police report. To anybody who thinks, oh, it was just a big storyline, you cannot file a false report. You can't. You just can't. Because if you get caught doing that, that's jail time. Do you really think Chris Jericho, the AEW heavyweight champion, needs to be spending time in jail for falsifying a police report? No, he doesn't. But this, in my opinion, was a bad look on Jericho. This is a bad look on AEW. People were cracking jokes. Last night, fucking Matt Hardy walks out of a Longhorn, puts a video up. He's walking out of a Longhorn Steakhouse, talking about having dinner with his wife. He puts his hands to his hips. He's like searching around. I think it looks like he's probably looking for his wallet. Runs back into the Longhorn Steakhouse. Comes out holding a belt, and said, "That son of a bitch was trying to steal my belt." Said something to somebody and walked off. I'm like, why is WWE not using this guy? By the way, this entire because Jericho posted a video of him launching an investigation. Some scumbag stole his championship. Yada yada yada. He did all that, and of course he did have another video after he got the championship back. None of that was written. That was all off the top of his head. AEW is not going to have scripts. AEW is not going to overly script their show. They're not going to overly script their superstars. Everything's going to be natural. Everything's going to feel real. Jericho just showed you, in Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy too, showed you don't need 25 fucking writers to have a TV program. Matt Hardy I'm guaranteeing you, everything that you see from Matt Hardy, by the way, is you don't realize how hard it is to be Matt Hardy. That shit's all from Matt. None of that is from a WWE script writer who's like, here you go, here's your promo for this video, Matt. No, that's all coming from Matt. Why they're not using him? Well, because of his age, most likely. Because Matt Hardy is on the older side. He doesn't need to wrestle as much because of his injuries, his injury history. But this guy is a fucking genius. This guy is just fucking fantastic at what he does. Quite honestly, Matt, Jeff, I hope, well, Matt mostly, I hope when your contract's up, you go be all elite. You bring back the Broken Universe, and we see the real Broken Universe go somewhere where it would be appreciated. Because, quite honestly, Matt Hardy is gold. He just showed you in that 2-minute clip that these guys, if they know what they're doing, can give you fucking good television. I sat there, I popped at it. Yes, I thought people cracking jokes about the championship being stolen at the time, I didn't think was funny, simply because it's a legit thing. The title was worth $30,000. Yes, they got the title back. Could have made it a huge storyline. Could have been a way to bring Jon Moxley or bring somebody from the outside, because yes, we do have a championship match set for Full Gear. However, episode 3 of AEW on TNT has been advertised as the first title defenses for the women's and heavyweight men's championships. They could have did a storyline that like Tallahassee got the title back, and then they give it to the Office. They don't give it back to Jericho. Jericho comes to TV and gets the champion, and we find out that Jon Moxley or Jimmy Havoc or somebody from the outside had the championship. In my opinion, it sucks that it's only October. It's going to be in October and not November, because this would have been a perfect way to bring Marty Scurll into AEW, because he could have been the one to get a hold of the championship, and we have Marty versus Chris Jericho on the 3rd episode. That would have been fucking huge, but that's not going to happen. But no. Tallahassee, the police department, got the championship, and some jackass decided, let's have one of our officers hold the championship up like a fucking, like a 10-pound bass or a 100-pound bass, and take a picture and put it on Twitter. AEW probably got a hold of him and was like, take that thing down. Too late. The belt, AEW tweeted the case was solved. But they think that the Tallahassee Police Department and that it was Chris Jericho had the title stolen while he was eating dinner at Longhorn Steakhouse. It was interesting to note that AEW did eventually delete that tweet. I think AEW is still trying to find a way to make this into an overall storyline, and they don't want to have any of this on there. Yes, Jericho talking about him having the championship. One, we don't know who the limo driver was. They're not going to give that name out. So, and we don't know who actually got discarded the championship to where it ended up getting found. We know the guy who got the championship, but we don't know who stole the championship, and we don't know who the limo driver is, who could be in the storyline if they wanted to do the storyline, the guy who took the championship and tossed it away because they don't think Chris Jericho deserved it. So there's still a lot more they could do with this. It's going to be really, really interesting to see if they do anything with this going into TV, because there's still parts of this entire story, if it doesn't come out, who stole the championship and who the limo driver was, so they can still somewhat make a story out of this, even though it would have been a lot better if they would have gotten the story, if Tallahassee wouldn't have killed the storyline for the most part by posting that picture. Now, how the championship was found, Jeffrey Burlow of Tallahassee Democrat, who broke several details of the story on Wednesday, has a new article that reveals he found the title belt on the side of the road. 41-year-old Frank Price of Tallahassee, who just happened to be celebrating his birthday on Sunday as well. Which, by the way, if it was me and I had that championship would be in a lockbox somewhere where nobody would be able to find it. I'm sorry. That's just me. I would probably feel guilty about it 10 years from now, but they have a second championship, by the way. If I would have found that on the side of the road, not being somebody who stole it, that motherfucking belt is going... I would be taking that belt and I would be going probably halfway around the world and finding a new place to live and just having that championship in a lockbox or up in a room locked away to where with me only one having the key, nobody else getting it. The actual AEW championship is in my possession. That would be me. Frank, who works as assistant director of Florida Natural Area Inventory at Florida State University and does not follow pro wrestling, was driving home with his wife Katie after a day of scalloping with friends in the nearby Port St. Joe Bay. Frank joked that the belt was a present of sorts that he never asked for or wanted. It's pretty comical, Bryce said to Burlow. It's the start for a great screenplay. The story could have gone in so many other funny directions. There are so many funny twists to it. Yeah, and here's the thing. I think the only reason it got returned is because it was found by somebody who's not a professional wrestling fan. You can't tell me that anybody who went to All Out, who went to Double or Nothing, who went to Fighter Fest or Fight for the Fallen, if they ran into and found the actual AEW World Heavyweight Championship and they were a fan of AEW, I guarantee you they would do exactly what I said I would do. They would take that thing and they would put it in a lockbox, they would put it in a briefcase or something and hide it from everybody. But luckily for AEW, a guy who's not a professional wrestling fan found it. Frank said the bag was scuffled up while they didn't look inside because they found they spotted what appeared to be a velvet bag in the middle of the turning lane near Capitol Circle Southwest. And by the way, the AEW Championship was in a velvet bag. Really? That's the best you can do for your World Heavyweight Championship? A velvet bag? Get the suitcase, man. Put it in a fucking suitcase. Frank said the bag was scuffed up while they didn't look inside until they got home. He could tell it was something heavy in it. They finally opened the bag, and when they got home, Frank couldn't believe what he was seeing. I think I said something like, "Whoa, it's a huge wrestling belt. Check this thing out." Frank said, "I never would have guessed that if I had a lifetime of guesses." Frank's wife then did a Google search of the belt and thought that it was seen to match the AEW World Title belt. They found knockoffs on eBay and couldn't believe that they had the real belt. This was before the internet was filled with stories on the stolen belt and how Jericho lost it. Frank and his wife figured the belt belonged to a kid or some other wrestling fan, guessing it was a replica or part of a costume. Yeah, a 30,000 belt that's probably heavier than anything they've ever carried before is part of someone's kid's costume. Give me a break. So they listed it under a lost and found section on the Craigslist Tallahassee forum. The ad read like this: "Found a Pro Wrestling Championship belt on Highway 20 Sunday afternoon. Contact me with details on you can come get it." Frank also texted photos of the belt to his brother and friends. He started receiving replies to the Craigslist on Tuesday, with some linking him to the Tallahassee Democratic article on the theft in the situation with Jericho. Price didn't see any of those replies until Wednesday morning, and that's when he realized what they had in their possession. Frank called the Tallahassee Police Department on Wednesday morning, and they told him to bring it in. He handed the belt over to an investigator in the lobby and answered a few questions, which is standard, on how he found it. While at the police station, Frank ran into Mike Vaughn, owner of Mike's Limousine Service, which had given Jericho the ride to Longhorn from the airport on Sunday afternoon. He returned from Chicago Vaughn was planning to file an insurance claim for the missing belt and was pleased it had been found. Vaughn was so relieved that he gave Frank a $200 reward. Well, that is a good story right there. Somebody, I would still probably, if it's the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, I would probably still do that. But yeah, the guy got a $200 reward for doing something that most people would do. But with me, like I said, most wrestling fans would probably just take that title and hide it away somewhere for a while. TBD detective called Frank later that day and said he needed to see him again to take a sworn statement, which you didn't have him take a sworn statement and was there. Why? They were said to be slightly suspicious about the reward and wondered if Price had called Vaughn to arrange their meeting at the police station. Price assured the detectives that the meeting was a coincidence and the reward was unplanned. Price has emails, text messages, receipts, witnesses, and GPS dates for his cell phone that backs his story up and proves he was nowhere near the Millionaire Airstrip or Longhorn when the belt went missing. Police have not said that Price is under investigation for the theft, but he said he wouldn't be surprised if he was. I was joking that there would be an investigator following me around. I figured the best approach is just to tell the truth and have fun with the whole thing, which is what you should do most of the time. Price says he doesn't know how the belt ended up on the road, but he doubts it was ever stolen in the first place. I think what happened is they just set it on the trunk of the limo and it just fell off, which could be what happened. The only other possibility is that it was part of the pro wrestling plot setup. They needed all the publicity they can get. Which again, if you're going for a pro wrestling plot like this, if you're going for a storyline like this, you don't file an actual police report, because if you lie in a police report, you can go to jail. As of Wednesday, no arrests have been made in the theft case, and police are asking anyone with information call them at 850-891-4200 or Crime Stoppers at 850-7574-TIPS, TIPS. Now, yes, it could have been on the limo and then they drove off, or somebody actually got a hold of it and they had it. It could have been someone, and this is something out of the way, it could have been one of those people who, just threw it into the back of a car. Maybe there was a bump on the road and the car had one of those trunk doors that wasn't completely secure. The trunk door popped open, the belt popped out, and there was that. Who really knows? There's no camera footage being talked about. There's nothing. We don't know. I don't think we will ever really know what happened with this entire thing. All we know is Chris Jericho's got the title back. AEW still has their championship. It was fully insured, apparently, so that's good. It's just, how could you let this happen? You have this is why Jericho should have somebody, or the AEW should have somebody with your champion holding that championship in a case or in something. I would say, like I said, a big briefcase that you have the number locks on, or some kind of lock on there, maybe key locks, that like Jericho has one key, the other guy has another key. They can do that, and it's handcuffed to somebody, so that championship is not out of somebody's sight. So, just one of the craziest stories I think we have ever heard. But you know what it did? It gave AEW a lot more publicity than you ever thought they could. Corey Graves, of course, made a comment about it on Tuesday Night SmackDown Live when he said something about Drake Maverick when he won the championship. Maybe he'll take his wife to a nice steakhouse or something. It would not surprise me if that 24/7 title gets lost or gets stolen from R-Truth, and either Wolfgang or Maxwell Hardy get it, or Nicholas gets it. Boogeyman scares the hell out of him, and they end up handing the title over to the Boogeyman. Or, in this case, with Wolfgang or Maxwell, they lay down, let their dad pin them, dad becomes 24/7 champion, and then we go on, and then R-Truth pins their dad, and that's that. So, it would not surprise me if we see WWE play up this thing, because yes, they did mention it. It would not surprise me if they played up to it. Moving over to Impact Wrestling, we have Killer Kross and his situation with Impact. Killer Kross and Impact Wrestling are at a very bad standstill. Impact Wrestling has stopped using him since Slammiversary because he did not want to blade. But the simple fact is, they had no medical they didn't have a doctor on site for Slammiversary, and he didn't want to blade and have not enough medical people there. And it recently reported that Killer Kross was considering hiring a lawyer to deal with his contractual standoff with Impact Wrestling. Cross has been indeed hired an attorney who is handling all the communications between Cross and Impact. Cross and Impact have been at a standstill regarding his existing contract since May. It was then he requested his release as believed he was worth more than what Impact is paying him, but Cross maintained his professionalism and continued working for the promotion, per the PW Insider. Impact recently offered Cross a new 3-year contract worth $40,000, $60,000, and $80,000 over the life of the deal. Wait, a source says that those numbers are outdated and the final figures were much higher, but either way, Cross declined and is still in his existing contract, which has 18 months remaining on it. Cross is not booked for this weekend Impact taping. Its last appearance for the promotion came at Slammiversary on July 7. Adding to the complexity of issues with Impact was that he participated in a first blood match at the event. However, Cross, who took the loss, did not want to blade for the match. That prompted Impact to secure fake blood hours before the event, in which Cross agreed to use during the defeat. Why did you not have the fake blood on hand just in case? Like, Impact Wrestling, did you wait until you got to Slammiversary? Like, hey, Cross, we want you to blade. This is something that should have been ironed out and dealt with months ago, weeks beforehand. Since, I don't know, you have tapings, they're not live, they don't do a live show, not anymore, they do weeks beforehand. They should have had the entire match between Killer Cross and, I think it was Eddie Edwards, mapped out. Are they and if Cross didn't want to use the blade, then you have to have fake blood. And here's another thing. You should have fake blood on. If you're going to do a first blood match, you should do fake blood. You should have fake blood on you at all times, just in case. Cross was also upset that there was no doctor on hand for Slammiversary, considering he was involved in such a match which required blood. Impact conceded that no doctors were present, but there was emergency medical technicians at the facility. They're not the same as a doctor. Come on, Impact. Give me a break. Impact is holding tapings from the 5th and 6th, which was a couple days ago. Also happening to be Killer Cross lives in Las Vegas, but despite the tapings practically taking part in his backyard, Cross will not be present, and there is still no timetable for when or if he will return to the ring in Impact Wrestling. So yeah, Killer Cross has probably had his last match at Slammiversary with Impact Wrestling. It's only a matter of time before they come to a resolution, whether that's a 90-day no-compete clause, an 80, whatever it is. Cross is probably going to be leaving Impact Wrestling. Does he go to WWE? Does he go to AEW? That is up to Killer Cross. It wouldn't surprise me if he went to Japan. It wouldn't surprise me if he went back to Ring of Honor. I know his girlfriend, Scarlett Bordeaux, did have a tryout with WWE in the Performance Center a couple days ago. So, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But Killer Cross, I will keep you updated when and if he gets his release from Impact Wrestling and how far they go with this entire legal issue. WWE is set to have a draft in October. The next draft is set to take place in October. The 2-night draft is scheduled to begin on Friday, October 11th. SmackDown episode from Las Vegas, which will be the second SmackDown episode on Fox. Of course, the first episode is going to be SmackDown's 20th anniversary episode, which we're way past the 20th anniversary of SmackDown. But they want to celebrate and make that first episode big because AEW is debuting that same week, and they want AEW to feel inferior. Now, the draft will wrap up on October 14th from Denver, Colorado. According to Dave Meltzer of F4W Online and John Pollock of Post Wrestling, the 2019 draft is part of a series of moves that will be done to freshen up Raw and SmackDown rosters. There will be other changes that made in October to help freshen up the shows. As noted a few weeks back via the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE officials have been working on a new draft concept to build permanent red and blue brand rosters. It is previously reported that there will be no major changes to the rosters ahead of SmackDown's Fox premiere on October 4th. Just some minor changes. This new direction was made by Vince McMahon. It was also reported that plans are being kept quiet as USA Network and Fox representatives will be the first ones to know when the new concept is decided on, which of course will be coming up soon. They got to advertise this draft soon. Now, if it was me, the draft would be taking place. The draft will be taking place on the 21st and the 23rd and the 24th of September because it's back-to-back nights instead of doing this whole, well, SmackDown gets the first crack, and we have to wait 3 days to see who's going from SmackDown to who's going to be on Raw. So we could have the entire draft done and over with by the 25th, and then, of course, the draft would take, and of course, with the draft, it's like, so the draft would take place on the 14th and the 11th, and it's like, so, because SmackDown has SmackDown 20th anniversary on the 4th, they're not going to want to be able to have, like, the Raw superstars on SmackDown, so that's why they're waiting till the next week. You could say, well, we're going to do this draft, and then, of course, have the 20th anniversary of SmackDown be an exception, but after that, the brands are to be separated. But this is what they want to do. There's a lot of talk about maybe NXT will be involved in this draft. Maybe superstars from Raw will go to SmackDown, and Raw will go to NXT, and NXT will go to SmackDown, and SmackDown will go to NXT. There's been speculation of NXT call-ups being done away with, so NXT could be more of its third major league brand for the company, but that is not the case. WWE has plans to continue calling talent up from NXT to Raw and SmackDown after the Black and Yellow brand premiere on the USA Network later this month. There's no word yet on upcoming calls, but before or after the September 18th USA Network premiere, but there are plans to have NXT stars move to Raw and SmackDown. As noted, there's been talk of NXT stars coming to the main roster in the WWE draft that is scheduled to take place in October. That would not surprise me, for the simple fact is, the last draft that we had in 2016, that's where we got Finn Balor, we got Nia Jax, we got Alexa Bliss, we got American Alpha, Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, we got Carmella. Trying to think, there was one more, I believe, from NXT, but yeah, we got those talents right there from NXT in the draft. So it would not surprise me if Shayna Baszler is brought up in the draft. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So that is where, like, so I fully expect when we get to that draft, if it is actually going to be on the 11th and the 14th, it would not surprise me if we see 2 or 3 stars from NXT going to Raw and 2 or 3 stars from NXT going to SmackDown. Johnny Gargano is to stay put. I fully expect to see Shayna Baszler moving up to the main roster, even though I just pitched the horsewomen in the War Games match, but who knows what's going to happen. Leave me down in the comment section below who you think is going to be on Raw and SmackDown, and what the Raw and SmackDown moves are going to be, and who's going to move from NXT to Raw and SmackDown. Moving on here. Yes, as I mentioned before, on WWE on USA Network will initially air live each week as 1-hour shows, but not 2 hours, as previously believed, according to a new announcement from WWE. The announcement states that the September 18th and September 25th NXT USA episodes will air live from 8 to 9 on the network on USA Network, and the second hour of those episodes, 9 to 10, will air live on the WWE Network. The 2-hour shows will begin airing live on just the USA Network on Wednesday, October 2nd, and that will be norm moving forward. This is the same night AEW premieres their weekly TV show from 8 to 10. As we know, the plan has been for the weekly TV episodes to be available on WWE Network each Thursday night, 24 hours after it airs on the network. There's no word yet on why the first 2 weeks are being split up between the USA Network and the WWE Network, but I'll let you know if that happens. This appears to be a recent change in plans, as the original press release on NXT moving to the USA stated that the 2-hour show will begin airing on USA with the September 18th episode. The following matches have been announced: Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong for the North American Championship. Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Mia Yim crowned the number 1 contender for a future title shot for Women's Champion Shayna Baszler. I have no fucking clue why they're doing this. It makes no sense why they're deciding, well, we decided first we're going to do 2-hour episodes starting September 18th until whenever. Now we're going to do 2 weeks of 1 hour on USA and the other hour on the network. Why? Why are you going to do that? It makes no sense. I cannot think of any reason why they would do this. You're still going to put it on Thursdays. You're still going to have it on Thursdays. I'm not watching NXT on Wednesday. I'm watching NXT on Thursday, no matter what. So this week's episode of NXT coming up is going to be the last episode of NXT on Wednesdays. It's going to be me on Thursdays from here on out after this week. So I don't know why they're doing this. I hope we have some kind of reason why before next week. But I'll let you know if there is anything next week on UnScripted. Big news that we had this week is that apparently Casey Catanzaro was leaving WWE due to a back injury. Those, like Cultaholic mentioned it, JD from NY mentioned it, What Culture mentioned it. Everybody who's anybody seemed to have mentioned that Casey Catanzaro is leaving WWE because of injury. Well, here's what I say to those people. That's what I say to everybody. Hey, let's let everything come out before we post anything. Because apparently, she is not going anywhere anytime soon. It was reported earlier this week that via Casey of Squared Circle Science that WWE's NXT superstar Casey Catanzaro is set to leave the company due to a back injury. In an update, the Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Casey Catanzaro has not quit the company as of Tuesday. There is said to be something to the original story, as there were definitely rumors of her departure going around NXT over the weekend. However, Catanzaro remains under contract as of this week. People close to the situation say Catanzaro has not quit and that she is not injured to any significant degree. The former American Ninja Warrior star who is dating WWE superstar Ricochet is still listed on the official roster. She signed with WWE in January of 2018, then worked in the Young Classic tournament that year. She also participated in the Women's Royal Rumble this year, had that awesome Kofi Kingston style savior by climbing, handstanding herself over to the ring post and climbing herself over. Absolutely fucking cool. She took to Twitter on Tuesday and made her first public comment since the original report came out. She tweeted a gif of her in action at the live event and wrote, "I'm going to do things that you have never seen before." Oh. And then Ricochet. If nobody saw it's just a report. Ricochet has come out and even debunked this. Raw superstar Ricochet spoke with Sports Illustrated earlier this week while on the Boston Red Sox game for WWE Night. He was asked about the reports of his girlfriend Casey Catanzaro leaving WWE soon due to a back injury. He said, and I quote, "She's still with the company. She's not retired at all, and she's not injured. It's a tough sport, and we're all hurting, but there's nothing wrong with her," unquote. He was then asked if the former American Ninja Warrior will ever wrestle again. He said this, and I quote, "I don't know," he said. "She's very family-oriented, and she wants kids. She doesn't know if being on the road so much is for her. For me, I'm already too deep in. I'm on the road all the time. She loves wrestling, and she loves it here, and she's so good at it, so it's a very tough decision for her," end quote. So, all those reports of Casey Catanzaro leaving, as of right now, you can put those to bed. It's not happening, and people just here's the thing. When it comes to reports like this, get the full goddamn story before you go out there thinking it's going to happen. I read that. First off, I was like, this is when the report first came out that Casey Catanzaro is supposedly leaving WWE, I was like, oh, this sucks. That's two women from two different companies that it's going to be a bummer that they're leaving, with Kylie Ray being released from her contract with AEW. I was like, damn, she could be somebody who is going to be a big part of the women's division. To Casey being like, god damn, she's going to be somebody that I think could be used and possibly have that unlikely babyface, female version of David vs. Goliath title run in her somewhere down the road. It would suck that happened, but apparently that's not happening. So people get the whole information before we actually go and say, oh, this is a full thing. So if Casey Catanzaro is sticking with WWE and she's still going to wrestle, that's awesome. If she's not, that's up to her. More power to her, what she wants to do. This is something that I don't think anybody wants to see with NXT, and it would really piss all of us off, and it would kind of kill NXT. The weekly 2-hour Raw NXT show on USA Network is set to be heavily scripted program, according to Dave Meltzer. This adds another interesting angle to NXT versus AEW on Wednesday night, as the AEW will not nearly be as scripted or at all. Meltzer noted that AEW will not be hiring any creative writers, which is how you should go. This weekly live AEW TNT show will feature some of the wrestlers coming up with storylines, cutting their own promos, some with bullet points. The AEW wrestlers will be able to memorize their promos if they want to, but it's said that there will be no word-for-word promo work. On a related note, several of the promos on this week's Raw were not scripted word for word. It's interesting that this is an interesting change as WWE fans have complained about the script promos for a long time now. NXT will premiere on the USA Network on Wednesday, September 18th from Full Sail Live in Winter Park, Florida. The weekly live show will begin airing from 8 to 10 each week from Full Sail, with the episode that will be available on the network the next day, which is going to kill their ratings. AEW's weekly show live TNT show will premiere on Wednesday, October 2nd from 8 to 10 at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. So anybody who says that Vince McMahon's not going to get involved, bullshit. Bullshit. You're going to take NXT. My question is this. What is the fucking point of having promo classes in the Performance Center if you're going to just give somebody a script and tell them to read that script? What is the fucking point of giving these guys a platform to in the Performance Center to work on their promos and be able to cut promos? They don't give them a script in promo class and tell them to write that and read that script. They go off of what they can come up with off the top of their fucking head. What is the fucking point of that class if you're just going to script them? NXT is not scripted whatsoever. It's got its bullet points. Bullet points is all you need. Bullet points is all you fucking need. Look at what Matt Hardy did with that, making like parodying, which even though he said he wasn't parodying Chris Jericho, he just on a whim, on his own time, went to a Longhorn Steakhouse and did a rib on Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho had 2 fucking promos on the entire title theft thing, which was better than anything we have seen on WWE's main roster this entire year. And yet we're going to script NXT. We're going to take NXT and ruin it more and more. Vince McMahon just cannot let anything be great, can he? Triple H said on Vince McMahon running NXT. Triple H spoke with TalkSport's Alex McCartney while in the UK for Saturday NXT's UK Takeover UK event. McCartney asked about Dave Meltzer speculating on Vince McMahon having strong involvement in the main NXT brand when it premieres on the USA Network. He dismissed that speculation and said Vince has basically told him to go make NXT a success. He also praised his father-in-law for the businessman he is. Let's be honest, he says, and I quote, "There's a lot of things that people like Dave say that don't make sense because they don't approach things from a business standpoint. Put it this way, we're going to be live on Mondays, we're going to be live on Wednesdays, we're going to be live on Fridays. There's so much bandwidth to go, and the truth is that it's just funny that small-mindedness of this, that people don't give Vince the credit for being the businessman that he is. The speculation and rumors, and it's easy when people leave or they go their own way to fan and to jump onto speculation and rumors, and a lot of it is that's just what it is. When people talk about him as a businessman, there's just so many crazy misconceptions. The truth is, all of what we're doing right now, this business is because of him. They took a failing industry, so to speak, in a period at the time in the 80s and turned it into a global phenomenon when nobody else had the foresight to do it. All the things that he's done and where it is today, and people look at where it is today, and you hear them say negative things, and it's like, I'm like, really? Because we just signed billions of dollars deals with Fox and USA, I'm not sure it's crumbling. He's also smart enough to understand that things that we do and where they go, and the pieces of it, if you're asking the simple term answers, he's not involved, you know what I mean. Yeah, he's going to have some say in some things as far as like the brand sits and the marketing of within USA, and clearly whatever he wants to do at the end of the day. But at this point in time, he's basically just said, go make this thing a success. Triple H, did you really expect to have Triple H come out and say, oh yeah, he's getting involved, he's going to do this, he's going to do that? No. Triple H is going to go out there and give you the business type answer. That was a business answer. Triple H, Vince McMahon could sit there and say, oh, go make NXT a success while he's working behind the scenes. And I want to know something. If Vince McMahon's not going to get involved, why is NXT going to be heavily scripted? Really. NXT that we have right now would work fine, would work beautifully on USA Network. Don't heavily script NXT. NXT needs bullet points and that's it. And here's the thing. Vince McMahon can get involved any which way he wants. Plain and simple. Triple H could be sitting in gorilla position And Vince McMahon's like, hey pal, I know you're not busy, but I'm going to take over from now. And he could do that. Triple H has got the hardest job coming September 18th on. Is trying to keep the NXT that he built, the NXT we all know and love, as much as he can. He's fighting defense. He's in a massive defensive position to keep Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon away from his product. Will it happen? Hell no. Vince McMahon is going to get involved, and you know it. Anybody who thinks that Vince McMahon is not going to get involved or is not involved with NXT more than he is now, you're out of your fucking mind. Speaking of promos and stuff about being scripted and everything, several promos on Raw this week were not scripted. The backstage promos for Rey Mysterio, which was god fucking awful, along with the segment from Bayley and Sasha Banks on for Sasha Banks on Raw, and SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley, according to Wrestling Observer. Bayley did a backstage promo with Charlie Caruso where she talked about still being best friends with Banks. That promo was done before Bayley and Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch came to face Raw Women's Tag Team Champions Twisted Bliss. In the main event, which saw Bayley turn heel to help Banks beat down Lynch, Banks had two promos on Raw. One was a quick backstage segment with Sarah Schreiber where she was intimidating Schreiber and ordered her to get the hell out of her face for trying to instigate. And the other was when she interrupted Lynch in the ring promo and said the man will be the boss's bitch after the match at Clash of Champions. Mysterio had one promo on the show, a backstage segment with Caruso. This promo is where Rey Mysterio talked about being thankful how his own son, Dominic, talked to him about him out of retirement. He also said parents are supposed to be responsible for pushing their kids to follow their dreams, but now his son is pushing him to continue chasing his. Rey ended the promo by saying he's not done just yet and still has a lot more to accomplish and that he's going to do it for his son. Which was probably one of the worst promos of the goddamn week. I literally just wanted to rip my goddamn ears out. So, Bayley and Sasha Banks promos were fine. Rey Mysterio should have been on a script because, my god, that shit was terrible. Those promos for this week were all done without being heavily scripted, word for word, described as going the old bullet point style and just going for it. There is said to be an internal movement to try and do more promos like these. That these were done moving forward. Some of the talent would receive some more freedom with their promos, similar to Kevin Owens on SmackDown, which is why his promos come off better than most. Almost everyone is believed that Daniel Bryan has similar freedom with his TV promos. Of course they do, because Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan are two of the best on the mic in WWE. They can do it, and they don't need a fucking script. Yes, there are some people who probably need some direction with their promos because they're not there yet. But for a lot of these guys, men and women, they could probably carry a promo. Bayley and Sasha Banks were fine. Bayley on SmackDown was probably like SmackDown, and Bayley and Charlotte Flair would not surprise me if they were scripted because that shit seemed like that was coming off of them. That's just like back when Bayley and Alexa Bliss were in their feud for the Women's Championship. That moment of piss segment where they were on there and they were getting as real as could be, that felt fucking real. You believed what the women were saying. When it comes from the superstars themselves or the wrestlers themselves and they're not being scripted, it's just coming off the top of their head or in the heart or whatever, and it's coming from them, you can believe what's coming out of their mouths. You can believe what they are saying. It's just the bullet point system is the way to go. It is the piece de resistance when it comes to promos. Using scripts and having scripts verbatim, it's one of those things that when you start reading scripts from somebody who's writing them down, you start reading in the voice of who's ever writing for you. Say Shawn Michaels was sitting there writing a script for somebody like Johnny Gargano. You're gonna Johnny Gargano would start reading and start sounding a lot more like Shawn Michaels than he would Johnny Gargano, because Shawn Michaels, like anybody, it's like you start writing a script and you're gonna start writing, especially for a promo, you're gonna start writing in your own voice. Like I'm sitting here talking to you like this, and I'm writing this stuff down, and they're gonna start sounding like me. That's why everyone sounds robotic. It's like they're writing this shit. It's like they're using a program backstage that writes these promos for these people, and that's why everyone sounds fucking robotic. Go back to bullet points. Give a guy like Seth Rollins, who can definitely cut a fucking promo. Roman Reigns probably can cut a promo. Guys like Jinder Mahal, which should not be cutting a promo ever again, that's fine. But, like, the heavy hitters should be getting that leeway. Paul Heyman doesn't use the script. John Cena doesn't use the script. Daniel Bryan shouldn't use the script. Kevin Owens shouldn't use the script. Seth Rollins should not be using the script. Roman Reigns shouldn't be using the script. Randy Orton, I bet you Randy Orton hasn't used a script in forever because he can cut a fucking promo. Adam Cole down in NXT up until now hasn't used a script. The Undisputed Era themselves haven't used scripts. Shayna Baszler does not need a script. Candice LeRae does not need a script. Bianca Belair does not need a script. These people don't need scripts. Scripts don't need to be there. The only script that you need is the format for what the show is going to be from top to bottom. And the only thing that should be in there is match order and promo order. What everything's going to be going on. The bullet point promos are better, and yes, there might be a little bit off hinge of here and there, but over time, they're going to get better. You're going to believe these people better, and people are going to feel special. People are going to feel like they should. Kill the scripts and get rid of them. Big shakeup. Big shakeup coming into the creative team earlier this week. I believe it was Wednesday. The changes have been in works for some time. Ryan Ward is done. He is out for Team SmackDown. Has been working as lead writer of SmackDown, but he is now out. The official word is that he is on personal leave. I wonder why he is asked for personal leave. Oh, I don't know. Since Bischoff has become executive director, Vince McMahon is writing the shows himself on the fly. He's ripping up whatever script Ryan Wood and Eric Bischoff and all these people are making, and just doing the shows by himself. Instead of being an egomaniac and making sure and doing everything yourself, you should respect what these people are doing. I guarantee you what we've seen Ryan Wood and other people come up with that Vince McMahon has ripped up is probably fucking good to great, and Vince is ripping it up because he wants it to have his seal of approval, and somebody else doing it is not going to have his seal of approval. We've noted how Vince McMahon has been making heavy edits to the Blue Brand TV scripts as of late, and there's been an internal feeling that some sort of SmackDown change was inevitable. Word gone from SmackDown, Ed Koskey will be moving to the Blue Brand. Koskey has been working as a head writer for Raw, who has been with WWE for more than 18 years. While we'll be working with SmackDown Executive Director Eric Bischoff, Koskey is currently Vice President of Creative. He worked as a top writer for more than 10 years. The new Raw leader is Jonathan Baekstrom. He will be working with Executive Director Paul Heyman. Baekstrom has been working as a lead writer for 205 Live since November 2016, but he has recently moved to the Raw show because Heyman brought him to the Red Brand when he was hired as Executive Director. The Raw and SmackDown rating teams are being split up before the official talent roster split comes during the second week of October, which is the WWE draft that has been reported on earlier today. That is a good fucking thing. That is also something that the writing team has been wanting. I remember when they had that that anonymous source come on to Wade Keller's podcast a couple months ago and talk about everything that happens. This is about the time Sami Zayn made his return a couple weeks after that. And this source talked about how the writing team enjoyed back when they had two separate brands for two separate writing teams. They haven't had that recently because Vince McMahon wants everyone to work on every show. There's about 25 writers per show overall. You have 13 and 13, or 12 and 12. That 13-1 can float between both shows if they want you to, or he can go be 205 Live, and that's less heads working on Raw and less heads working on SmackDown. So maybe, just maybe, these shows can feel a little bit better because less heads to be talking and less heads to be trying to throw things around. The only thing is that everything still goes through Vince McMahon. Everything still goes through Vince McMahon. So no matter what we like to see, no matter what they want to do, Vince McMahon has the final say. So quite honestly, does this really fucking matter? Not really. The creative team shakeup that was finalized on Wednesday was brought on by several internal issues and concerns, including a severe botch of the SmackDown storyline with Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Eric Rowan. Ryan Wood is now out as lead head writer. The official word is that he is on personal leave, with Wood gone from SmackDown. Koskey is now lead writer. Oh, wait a minute. What the hell? Hold on. Regarding the lead, let's see. The creative shakeup is due to perceived lack of direction on the Blue brand. These changes come as WWE prepares to premiere on Fox Friday nights beginning October 4th. It will not be called SmackDown Live anymore when it goes to Fox. I did see a commercial today doing college football that it's going to be called Friday Night SmackDown again, which it hasn't been called since it was Friday Night SmackDown about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. The deal was putting a lot of pressure on SmackDown writing team. The change also came among growing questions about Eric Bischoff's leadership on the show. According to the reports, the source said that Bischoff's decision to hire Stevie Long, a writer who formerly worked on Sons of Anarchy TV show. Long was reportedly found asleep in the writer's room by Hall of Famer and longtime employee Michael P.S. Hayes. During Long's first day on the road with the company, he is still employed. Bishop declined to comment on the story when contacted by the Wrap, and Long's manager was unable to give a comment on his clients before publication. Going back to the botching of Rowan's doppelganger storyline, the Wrap reports that Bischoff and the Blue Brand team have come under scrutiny due to the handling of the creative. The source noted that the storyline was botched so bad that explaining to anyone what it was supposed to be wouldn't make any sense at all. I would love to see where this was actually supposed to go, because quite honestly, this has been a botch since day one. McMahon talked about why he hired Heyman and Bischoff for the new executive roles during the 2019 Q2 earnings call earlier this summer. Vince did not mention Heyman and Bischoff by name, but first referenced the new roles during the opening statement to investors that morning. He noted that twice during the call the new executive director's hires will prevent him from getting in the weeds as he has in the past. Which pretty much says, and as we all know, here's the thing. Why is anyone scrutinizing the writers and Bischoff for this? This is all Vince McMahon. He's ripping up the fucking scripts every single goddamn week. So if anyone's to blame for SmackDown Live shows being terrible and this entire thing being botched, it's Vince McMahon, because he's the one changing everything. Because this motherfucker cannot decide what he wants to do. He changes his mind more than you change a shirt. One of the things that we've done is hire 2 executive directors, one for Raw and one for SmackDown. In doing so, it allows me to look at a long-range story and also spend more time on talent development, not get into the weeds as much as I had to do in the past. This is a really, really good thing for a long term as well as short term. Actually, we've seen a big result already. Bullshit. What has changed? What has changed since you've hired the executive directors? Has Vince McMahon gone back? Has Vince McMahon taken a step back? No. Has the creative had more freedom? No. Has Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff had a say in anything? Fuck no. I don't care what anyone says. Vince McMahon has been running these shows. The only reason Bischoff and Heyman were fucking hired was so they could be the shield to Vince McMahon. So when SmackDown has this botched storyline, people will blame Eric Bischoff and the creative team. They won't blame Vince McMahon when it's all of Vince McMahon's fault. This was later asked by the investor why the company chose to hire Bischoff executive directors at the time and how much latitude Heyman and Bischoff will have. Why now question is a logical one. I can't personally be in the weeds any longer, and we have these 2 individuals who have a long range point of views and a development point of view. Both of these individuals have extensive backgrounds in the business for various aspects, and with the organizational aspects that they have in the depth talent, executive talent we now attract is going to be really good for our business. And how much latitude they will have, that's again, it allows me to have a broader overview of things, escape from just getting on the weeds, so they have a lot of latitude. They have 0 latitude. He's still in the weeds. WWE currently has approximately 25 creative writers across the company, according to the new report from the Wrap. If Fox Sports representative did not immediately respond to the Wrap's request on comments, a spokesperson issued the following response to the request: "We do not comment on employee matters." That is just, I can't even. This is just like, WWE just does not. There's even more on this creative shakeup. The new 205 Live lead writer is Chad Barbash, according to the announcer. Barbash has been unofficially working as the main 205 Live writer ever since Raw director Paul Heyman brought Johnson Bakestrop to the Red Brand a month or so ago, but now his role is official. Major creative shakeups, as we know, 10 years, yada yada. Ward's personal leave. Casey and Square's Oracle Simons noted on Twitter that they recently got married. That could have something to do with his leave. It also probably has to deal with the same thing that Road Dogg had to deal with. And why Road Dogg is now in NXT is simple. Vince McMahon has been butting heads with everybody. He has to go his way. You could come out with some of the most creative and logical shit out there, and Vince McMahon is just going to take it to a shredder and throw it and just shred it away. There have been several times it has been noted that WWE plans to making roster and creative changes as we get into the fall season. For SmackDown's Fox premiere on Friday, October 4th, the idea come October is that the writers, the announced teams, and the wrestlers will be all exclusive to their own brands. The WWE Draft, which is scheduled to begin on October 11th from Las Vegas and at the end of the October 14th. Raw from Denver will be the biggest of the series of changes that are being done to freshen up everything. Most have noted that the current rosters will likely be talent lineups coming out of the draft, but there will be some notable roster moves, and some of those moves could see WWE NXT superstars get sent to Raw and SmackDown, and possibly a superstar from Raw and SmackDown be moved to NXT. It was also noted that there has always been somewhat of a separate crews for Raw and SmackDown, but the writers have been interchangeable because the talents are. It is hard to have exclusive writing teams when the wrestlers are appearing on both shows. There will always be exceptions, but the idea is that there will be more brand exclusivity beginning in the fall. There should be 100% brand exclusivity, and I don't want to hear anything about a fucking free agent. The whole brand extension became a laughingstock when John Cena became the free agent John Cena. He could go to Raw and SmackDown. Then what happened? The wildcard rule a year and a half later. Now, we get the brand, we go Raw, we go SmackDown, that is it. No more interchangeable shit. The superstars on Raw, they stay on Raw unless you do a superstar shakeup or draft the next year. People on SmackDown, they go to SmackDown and they stay on SmackDown. If they go to NXT, they stay on NXT. No more of this superstar shit. None of this wildcard bullshit. No. It was noted that Bischoff and Heyman will likely be able to get certain guys they want to sign to the rosters. Meltzer added there has been a running backstage joke on Bischoff not even knowing who the talents are yet. Which is just kind of petty, but that's how you go. So there you go. Creative changes. Ryan Wood is out. I don't know what's going to happen with him. In my opinion, I think he should go back to NXT where he really shined, and he was running NXT during the golden era of NXT. The era we have now is fine and it's good, but NXT is still not at its best foot or where it was 3.5 years ago when Balor and Nakamura and all those, like Balor was there. He's still your longest reigning NXT champion. Kevin Owens just dropping the title to Balor. Sami Zayn. All this stuff happened in the first year and a half of NXT on the WWE Network. Ryan Wood was there, and they had some of the best NXT you will ever see. Anybody who is a fan of Up, Up, Down, Down, there is a new superstar with a new gaming channel, and her name is Asuka. Asuka has launched her own YouTube channel, Kana-chan TV, capital K-A-N-A, capital C-H-A-N TV. Go check it out. She did play her first video of playing Super Mario Maker 2. She does float in between English and Japanese wording. She does play on a Japanese Nintendo Switch, I believe, or her language is in Japanese. She does play Mario Maker in Japanese, but that doesn't matter because it's Mario Maker. All you want to do is see her play. She's only posted one video, and looks like it might be something she does only on Mondays. I have no idea. It's only been one video, but that would be... I checked it out. She does look like she's going to be great. Have fun at it. Go make sure to hit that subscribe button. I had to go subscribe to Kana-chan TV. Also, before we get into any other news, we do have Gears 5 news as Batista, the animal, who has been pushing and wanting to be a part of a movie role, a movie version of Marcus Phoenix. He will be playable in Gears of War after Clash of Champions is over next Sunday. If you play Gears of War from the end of Clash of Champions to the end of September, you will be able to play as Batista online. He is going to be an alternate Marcus Phoenix. The only thing that I don't like that they did with Batista, they got the shades on. He looks like Batista. If he's an alternate Marcus Phoenix, where's his do-rag? Where's the Marcus Phoenix do-rag? I mean, come on. Marcus has a do-rag on his head. Give me a fucking break. I think it would look badass on him, and it would actually make him look more of a alternate Marcus Phoenix. But hey, it is what it is. So if you want to play as the Animal Batista for Gears 5, make sure to get onto Gears 5 after Clash of Champions on September 15th and play until the end, like from now to the end of the month. Just go check it out. I'm jealous because I don't have a copy of Gears 5. I don't have the ability to get a copy of Gears 5 because I would love to play as Batista in Gears 5. I love Gears. I played through the first 3. Tried to play Gears 4, but my PC blew up on me. I'll have to get through that eventually and then eventually play Gears 5 because by hook or by crook, by this time next year, I hopefully can be playing Gears of War 4 and Gears 5 and getting through those. Ric Flair. Man, oh man, Ric Flair has become a petty, petty motherfucker. He goes to war with WWE over the nickname The Man. Two-time Hall of Famer Ric Flair was recently approached by TMZ Sports and asked about his recent filing to trademark the name The Man. Which, quite honestly, I don't think should be legally allowed to be trademarked because I can say, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Seriously. That's like Sandman. You can't trademark the Sandman. It's just one of those things that it should not be trademarkable. The LLC owned by Ric Flair filed for rights to a name again on August 26th of this year. The nickname has been adopted by current Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch. He said, and I quote, "I'm glad that I'm having this opportunity to clear the air. When I first saw the Man Becky Lynch thing go down in August 2018, I thought, cool, the Man, my gimmick versus my daughter Charlotte. Okay, that's the day I started. Right after SummerSlam, I thought, cool. I said, I'm going to make some money. It's my trademark, and they have to use it. I've been saying it's been mine since 1981. So I got my word statement. I sent WWE's lawyer a text, and the lawyer who just has no respect for me whatsoever, which is something I'm not going to deal with much longer. He said, you're wrong. It's not even close. I said, it's not even close. So boom, I sent him another text. He didn't respond. So I had my lawyer call him, and he blew off my lawyer. This is all about the 2018 in January of 19. Flair also mentioned how his daughter Charlotte has been upset with him during this process. He hopes that his daughter and people alike will understand that the decision was centered around providing for his family. Well, Ric Flair, if you wouldn't have been, I know it's his gimmick, but if you wouldn't have been spending all that money on limousines and jets and fancy robes and alcohol and all this shit, maybe you could provide for your family. You're 70-some years old, dude. Give me a goddamn break. Do you really think you're going to need to make money on the Man? You already have trademark to be the man. You got to beat the man. That's why nobody uses it. I told Hunter, I'm going to file. I mean, the reason they don't have the trademark for the Man, it's my understanding that it's because it's too close to mine. I told Hunter, hey, if I push comes to shove, I'm going to file for it. I mean, I get it, but here's the deal. I love Becky, and no one has supported the women's division more than me on the Outsiders. Bullshit. Mick Foley has probably been right up there with you. As a matter of fact, I told the guys that I would have texted Becky last night and Sasha, but I'm sure Becky, I don't know what the WWE spin has been to her. They stole it last night, Flair explained. It's funny, my daughter is so mad at me because I filed not even understanding that it's not Becky. I have no beef with Becky. But here's the deal. When I almost died 2 years ago, one person stayed by me the whole time for 31 days in ICU, 12 days while I was dying on a respirator, and I'm going to take care of her and her family and my family. That has taken care of me, no matter what. I don't care what the WWE thinks of me personally. I know they love me, but obviously they have lost respect for me. If I don't win, and even if I won, Becky can have the Man all day long. I'm glad, but I want the company to pay me for it because I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to be the Man, and if I don't get it, you know what my tombstone will say? He died trying to be the Man. You know, I would love to see that on his tombstone. I would. I'm just saying, but when he dies in about 10 years, because I think Ric Flair is going to live for as long as he wants to. Lynch did eventually catch the trademark filings, and she commented on Twitter, I am the Man. Flair has since responded, tweeting, to be the Man, you got to beat the Man. Hashtag already trademarked. Which, yes, that's his catchphrase. He deserved to trademark that. Flair last appeared on television, WWE television at Raw Reunion in late August. WWE is promoting to host the Legends for SmackDown's 20th anniversary on Fox on August 4th. Flair is not currently advertised for it. Yeah, so Ric Flair, there's no reason for this. I'm pretty sure Charlotte's feeding is good for herself. It would have been one thing if Charlotte Flair was not, not in the WWE. She was off doing her modeling or whatever she was doing beforehand, and she was, not succeeding at it or something, or she was going from job to job. Yeah, I could make sense. But Charlotte Flair is an 8-time, 9-time women's champion in WWE, probably one of the highest paid women's wrestlers in WWE, if not the highest paid women's wrestler outside of Ronda Rousey. Which, by the way, Ronda Rousey is on the alumni page for WWE. Who really cares? If she comes back, they probably put it on the alumni page so when she comes back, they can be like, oh my god, she's back. We didn't expect her to ever come back. But anyway, she's doing just fine. I'm pretty sure you saying you need to make money for your family is a load of bullshit. I don't see what's the point of this. It's just something that Ric Flair does not need to be doing. You already have to be the man, you got to beat the man. The man is, it just seems like the man is something that should not be trademarkable because it's too common of a catchphrase. You have people in SportsCenter going, he's the man. Oh no, he's the man. He's the man. That guy's the man. There's no reason to have Ric Flair in this thing. I think it's something that it's just a legal battle that is not necessary. It's a trademark that I don't think should be trademarkable, just because it's so common in it's so common in American language to say demand to somebody here and there, and it's just a headache that WWE doesn't need and Ric Flair doesn't need or anybody needs. So we're just back down. You're doing fine. The man is not something like you trademarking the man is not going to make you the money that you think to fend for your family. Charlotte Flair is doing just fine. She doesn't need your little boost of help. I think she's doing just fine on her own. This one I saw coming, but I didn't expect it to be like as open, and I think I shouldn't be surprised either. Matt Riddle possibly has backstage heat with not WWE, but with NXT talent. He jumped in on Twitter yesterday calling out NXT superstars who didn't give him a ride to work. This message is for all those pieces of trash, hags, and whatever other words you can't call them, you want to call them, that couldn't give me a ride today because their cars were too full with so much talent. I hate you all. You're garbage. Bye. Tommaso Ciampa since retweeted Riddle's video and responded, the small boys shall police themselves, aka go F / or -- yourself, or go fuck yourself. Riddle then replied, he said the F word, so this must be real. Over the last few months, Riddle has an online feud with Chris Jericho, Goldberg, and Booker T. At the post-takeover Toronto 2 media scrum last month, Wrestling Inc. asked Triple H, who was already annoyed on the previous question about blood and guts, about Riddle's online beef. It's his opinion. It's social media. He has an opinion. He can say it. It is what it is. Matt Riddle is a very outspoken person, so he's a big boy. Matt Riddle has been way too outspoken. He's been disrespecting legends. He's been pretty much just a jackass to everybody who he wants to be a jackass to on social media. You don't like Goldberg? Fine, keep it to yourself. You want to fight Jericho? Fine, keep it to yourself. The boys in the back, not management, the boys in the back do not want to put up with this. Matt Riddle, I honestly think, is alienating himself to a point to where nobody fucking likes him backstage. It's just what it feels like, is that his attitude and his attitude on social media and his conduct is pissing everybody off, because they know if they tried to pull that shit, they would probably be pulled into a room and reprimanded or fined or suspended if they went as far as Matt Riddle has. So Ciampa and I'm sure others out there probably don't fucking like Matt Riddle as much as other people, as we like Matt Riddle in the ring. Matt Riddle needs to calm himself down, stay off of the weed, and be a little bit more respectful. Yeah, you don't like Goldberg, fine, whatever. But do be a little bit more respectful to like a Jericho or Booker T, Goldberg on social media. You have beef with him, keep it out of social eyes. You ran into him at SummerSlam. You settle your beef there. You guys talk there or whatever. You don't bring it to social media. I'm pretty sure the guys in the back, the men and the women in the back, are tired of it. They're done with it. They're like, this guy is just being a child. I have to conduct myself professionally, but this guy can be a child? Give me a break. It doesn't seem like he has heat with WWE themselves. He has backstage heat with the boys. And in my opinion, I would rather have heat with WWE management than I would with the boys, because the boys are going to they're people that you're going to be in the ring with. They are tired of your shit, and you never know. It could be a Keith Lee, it could be an Adam Cole, it could be Roderick Strong, it could be even Tommaso Ciampa, who has a match with him and just shoots on him one time and just cracks his jaw. Matt Riddle should not put himself in that position just because he has a little beef with Booker T, or a little beef with Chris Jericho, or a little beef with Goldberg. Keep it off social media, Matt. You need to start respecting everybody else. And apparently it feels like, and I'm not in any of these people's shoes, but it feels like if they're doing that to him, it's their way of saying, you've disrespected the business enough that we're not having it anymore. Lastly, two more pieces of business here before we get into the rest of the AEW news. WWE officials are currently actively looking for new referees, specifically female referees. WWE tried to hire one indie wrestler to work as a referee, but she reportedly turned the gig down. There's no word yet on who that was, but we'll keep you updated. WWE currently has 21 active referees on the roster. Jessica Carr, who previously worked as an indie wrestler, is the only female ref. AEW recently signed Aubrey Edwards, and she made history by calling the main event on Saturday's All Out pay-per-view, which saw Chris Jericho defeat Adam Page to become the first ever World Heavyweight Champion in that promotion. Edwards worked for WWE's NXT TV tapings back in July, but was not signed. Whose fault is that? It's kind of funny that WWE, like AEW, makes history with Aubrey Edwards being the first woman to be the official in the main event of a pay-per-view with the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. And she did a hell of a job. That was Chris Jericho's request, by the way. Chris Jericho wanted her in that position. One, to make history, and two, for that spot that they did where he shoved her for a second and she just went off on him, which I thought was, I caught for it, but when you look back on it, it's like the match should be about the World Championship and the two competitors, not the referee. But it was a small little thing. Oh well. But it's kind of peculiar that happened, and then now it comes out that WWE is trying to get female referees. See, I don't know if how many women want to actually be referees. That's the thing. Jessica Carr is, Aubrey Edwards is. I don't know of really many people in the professional wrestling world who are female who don't want to be in the ring. I don't know. Maybe they'll find somebody. Hell, for all they know, Paige could be a referee if they wanted to. Why don't you get Paige? Why don't you see if Paige wants to be a ref? I'm sure it wouldn't be the way she wants it to be done, but if she could be in the ring counting 1, 2, 3, I'm sure she would go for it if she can because of a neck injury. Does going down onto the mat to go 1, 2, 3, does that mess the neck up? If it doesn't, maybe you should see if Paige wants to be a ref. Get her back in the ring. She'd be a ref. She'd have to go to NXT, of course, and go through that. But that would be one way to use Paige, because quite honestly, Paige teaming with being the manager of Asuka and Kairi Sane just isn't working for me. That would be a way, and I'm sure Paige, if given the chance, would probably, I don't know if she would, but I feel like because she misses the ring, she wants to be in the ring herself. What better way? If you can't wrestle, then do it. They would have to put some caveats that she can't take a bump, which, most female referees don't take bumps like men do. And there you go. See if that's the thing. If Paige wants to be a referee, if Paige wants to be in the ring again and be a referee, why don't you see if Paige wants to do it? You never know. That'd be something right there that gives you two women's referees. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. It's just kind of funny that Aubrey Edwards makes history that WWE wishes they could have did first, and somewhere in Titan Towers after as AEW was after AEW had made this history, somewhere in Titan Towers, the old VKM, Vincent Kenny McMahon, is throwing a fit in his panic room because they made history in the women's wrestling before they could. Like WWE saying they had the first ever all women's pay-per-view, which we all know is bullshit. It wouldn't surprise me if Jessica Carr is reffing the Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins match, and they're like, oh my god, for the first time in WWE history, a female referee is reffing the main event of this match. Be like, okay, but you guys are about a month late. But it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me if Jessica Carr is the main event referee for the Universal Championship match. If that is the main event match at Clash of Champions, just look out for it. If it happens, you heard it here first. Is Renee Young finally being moved from Monday Night Raw? The Fox officials are said to be very high on Renee Young. Yeah, because come on! It's really moving. Renee Young should be the host of the TV show, which she's going to be. Renee is set to host a weekly WWE studio show on FS1, which will air each Tuesday night. The Observer described the studio show as the weekly version of UFC Tonight. We noted before that even the announced teams will be exclusive to Raw and SmackDown after the big fall changes are made. It was reported that Fox being high on Renee Young could lead for being exclusive to SmackDown, but that is still up in the air. Renee currently calls Raw action with Michael Cole and Corey Graves. Now, if I had to pick the teams, I'm going Renee Young staying on Raw, Corey Graves is staying on SmackDown. Get those two away from each other, because my word are they fucking terrible together. Put Vic Joseph on Raw with Michael Cole and Renee Young. That was a good team right there. Corey Graves, Byron Saxton, Tom Phillips is good. It's fine. It's whatever. That is fine. Vic on Raw with Michael Cole taking the step back, becoming the third wheel, because Vic Joseph, surprisingly enough, worked better with Renee Young and Michael Cole than Corey Graves worked with Michael Cole and Renee Young. Just saying. And also in that episode of Raw, we had no bickering from two people who sounded like 2-year-olds, so I'm all for it. There's no word yet on what brand Graves will end up on, but it's believed he won't be calling both shows. Which, quite honestly, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure he'll be like, oh, thank God I can get off one of these shows. He needs to stay on SmackDown. Renee Young needs to stay on Raw. And quite honestly, she could be on Raw and then do the studio show, because if the studio show, I feel, is going to be in the Stanford studio, so that's going to be that. But he stays on SmackDown with Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton. Corey Graves is no longer on Raw. You have Vic Joseph, Michael Cole, Vic Joseph, the lead of Monday Night Raw with Michael Cole there, and of course Renee Young. I think that's a much better pill to swallow. But we'll have to wait and see. But again, if it was me, Renee Young on Raw, Corey Graves on SmackDown, Vic Joseph goes to Raw, and there you go. Let me know what you think of Vic Joseph, Michael Cole, and Renee Young for Raw, Corey Graves, Tom Phillips, and Byron Saxton for SmackDown. That's just my opinion. Or if you want to change it up, you move Tom Phillips to Raw, and Vic Joseph, Byron Saxton, and Renee Young for SmackDown, because if they keep 205 Live, Vic Joseph does 205 Live as it is. So there's that. Let me know because I wish they had 2-man commentary booths, but we know they're never doing that again. So what would be your 3 from Raw and your 3 for SmackDown on commentary booths? Let me know in the comment section below. If you get to this far in the video, God bless you, thank you very much, but let me know who you would have on Raw for commentary and SmackDown for commentary. Moving over here to the AEW, the rest of the news, because we just had to start our news with Chris Jericho's stolen championship, because that was some crazy stuff. AEW's the countdown to All Out that they had the Friday, the day before All Out. It drew 390,000 viewers and ranked 29th in cable top 150, 18 to 49 demographic on Friday night, according to Showbuzz Daily. This was the first piece of programming on TNT, the 1-hour special, which was a preview for All Out, aired from 10 p.m. Aired at 10 p.m. on a Friday night. It was announced less than 48 hours beforehand, and hardly had any promotion. And quite honestly, if you watched the Road to All Out, you saw everything that they showed on TNT that day. 390,000 viewers for barely any promotion is actually not bad. So AEW could have, if you double that, that's about 8,800 viewers. 880,000 viewers for their first episode. I'm going to say about 88,000 to 1 million. That's my prediction for their first episode is going to be. 880,000 to 1 million viewers. Anywhere in between that, I think that's good. Will it fluctuate? Of course. No matter how good your show is doing, you're always going to fluctuate either up or down, no matter what you do. You're never going to see an episode of SmackDown, an episode of Raw, or AEW, or NXT that's just going to flatline and it's going to stay that same number. It's just not going to happen. Speaking of numbers, though, the Double or Nothing, the all-out pay-per-view buys are down from Double or Nothing. The early buys. All-out pay-per-view buys drew around 28,000. Now, this is standard pay-per-view. This is not BR Live. This is not anything like that. This is going to your cable box and your cable service and buying it on pay-per-view. It was drew around 28,000 buys in the United States, which would not include BR Live according to Wrestling Observer. The number was down 20% from early pay-per-view TV pay-per-view numbers for Double or Nothing, which was an estimated 35,000 buys a few days after the event ended. Double or Nothing ended up with 39,000 U.S. buys, which could indicate that All Out will have another 10 to 12% added to the number, which will put it probably about 31,000, maybe 32,000 buys. When it's all said and done. The Observer adds that the streaming pay-per-view numbers in the United States on BR Live were up from Double or Nothing, but it is not known how much yet. TNT's 1-hour all-out preview show on Friday night pushed BR Live as the way to watch the event instead of traditional pay-per-view. So it makes sense if, say, 390,000 viewers, say about half of that. So, you know what? I'm going to buy it on BR Live. There you go. That's where the number came from. The Observer adds that streaming, but it's not known yet. Instead of traditional pay-per-view, so it makes sense that the BR Live numbers would be around up. That indicates about 100,000 total buys for the all-out pay-per-view, which would be down 10% from Double or Nothing, which estimated at 111 buys. It's also noted that the worldwide number for Fight TV were down, while ITV box office pay-per-view numbers in the UK were up, although those numbers were not available yet. For both TV pay-per-view and BR Live viewers, an estimated 46% of fans ordering All Out had ordered Double or Nothing, which means estimated 54% of people did not order Double or Nothing, which is always a positive. Yes, they might be down a little bit when it comes to numbers, but they had 54% people who bought double, like 46% people bought Double or Nothing but did not buy, and then you have another 54% that did not and who bought All Out. That means fresher eyes and more people on this product who were not there before. Maybe they heard about this stuff. Maybe they saw videos of Double or Nothing. Maybe they were on the fence and then they said, you know what? Chris Jericho's in the main event. I've seen Chris Jericho before. That's what, bet you if half of that 54% was because Chris Jericho was in the main event and they know who Chris Jericho is and they wanted to see what Chris Jericho is going to do. The reason that Chris Jericho is your AEW champion is simple. I'm going to take it back to 3 years ago. This is another thing I talk about. What Culture Pro Wrestling, one of my favorites that they had for 3 years in the UK. I'm in the United States. I didn't know a lick of anybody. I didn't know a Joe Hendry. I didn't know a Big Damo. I didn't know Rampage, even though I guess he was in WWE for a bit. I had no idea at the time who Noam Dar was. I didn't know who Joseph Connors was. I didn't know who El Ligero was. I didn't know who Martin Kirby was, Gabriel Kidd, and so on and so forth. I did know Adam Pacitti, Adam Lampier, Jack the Jobber, King Ross at the time, and I also knew of the wrestlers they had, and I'm glad that they did. They had Jay Lethal on their first set of tapings. They were able to get the at the time Ring of Honor champion on their tapings. So, what happens? I'm like, I've seen Jay Lethal. I've seen Jay Lethal in Impact Wrestling. I know what he can do. I know how good he fucking is. Of course, I haven't seen him in a few years. So, damn, when I see him wrestle with Noam Dar, and they put on a damn good match. I don't remember who he wrestled at Built to Destroy, but that was also a good match because it was just 3 years ago, so my memory's a little finicky on that one. But still, you have to have a recognizable name to get the most eyes on you. Chris Jericho to AEW is Jay Lethal to the AEW. AEW has Chris Jericho, where World Culture at the time had Jay Lethal. Somebody like me who used to watch Jay Lethal back when he was Impact Wrestling. He was the Black Machismo. He was a former multiple-time multiple time in X Division champion. He did stuff with, like, he did the whole redoing the Macho Man storyline with SoCal Val, which was absolutely fucking atrocious, but hey, that's what they did. I am going to tune in to see what these guys do. Then you get to see a Rampage Brown, a Big Damo. You get to see Primate, and I love fucking Primate. I love Jay Melrose. He's fucking awesome as Primate. Him and his hardcore styles. They made a hardcore division in that show, in that entire promotion, because of Primate and how efficient he got. That's where I first saw a Jimmy Havoc. The first time I saw Joseph Connors, Joe Hendry, who just had his first match in Ring of Honor this last week, which it's kind of funny. You know how big a indie promotion is when Joseph Connors made his first U.S. wrestling, his first time wrestling in the United States, I believe, with the NXT UK brand, and he's coming out to the ring, and all he hears is, "And Joseph Connors," boom, that's what you get. You get exposure because people know who that person is. I know who Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes is. I didn't know who Luchasaurus was. I didn't know who Jungle Boy was. I only heard of Private Party because I followed the commentator from, I watched the commentator from House of Glory on YouTube, JD from NY206. He always talked up how good Private Party was. I never seen him wrestle. Yes, you're damn straight. I saw the Young Bucks versus Private Party at High Intensity this past year, which was a couple weeks ago. That was a pretty fun match. The camera angles weren't just what they were because it's an indie event. However, getting to see Luchasaurus, MJF, the Jungle Boy, Joey Janela, which I only saw him face Hangman Page last year. Seeing more of Hangman Page because I only really saw his one match at All In last year. That's what you get. And, like, you have casuals who don't follow the product as much, but they know who Chris Jericho is because he came in during the Attitude Era. He was there when they were watching WWE. They fell off. He was still there. So them to hear that Chris Jericho is a part of this new promotion, they're going to check it out. And when they see a Luchasaurus go out there and get the greatest hot tag I have ever seen in a six-man or a tag team match ever, they're going to say, wow, that's fucking awesome. I'm going to stick around to see what these guys are doing. So the 54% of people who did not buy Double or Nothing probably didn't even watch Fyter Fest and probably didn't watch Fight for the Fallen, but they're like, whoa, Chris Jericho's in the main event. I'm going to order this pay-per-view because I'm a fan of Chris Jericho. I'm going to order this pay-per-view to see what they had, what they're bringing to the table. And then they stay for that awesome ladder match. They stay for the six-man tag match. They stay for that crazy triple threat match. The women's match was a little weak, but that's neither here nor there. They probably get a little drawn off because of the Dark Order match, because the Dark Order versus Feds was, I think, the weakest part of the show. But they stay there for the Cody versus Shawn Spears match because, hell, maybe they know who Cody Rhodes is because they were watching WWE when Cody left. Maybe when Cody left, they're like, you know what? I'm done with WWE because they squandered Cody Rhodes. Maybe that's one of those fans that maybe they're a Cody fan, but they just stopped watching wrestling because Cody was one of those people that they stood around watching. Who knows? But 54% who did not watch all Double or Nothing but bought All Out. That is only positive. Plain and simple, only positive. All Out drew about 10,500 fans in the Sears Center in Chicago. The event sold out in just 15 minutes back in June. It was announced in September 2018 that All In pay-per-view drew about 11,263 fans, the same arena. All In, which was a successful event that led to the creation of AEW, has reportedly grown an estimate 50 to 50,000 pay-per-view buys. 55,000 pay-per-view buys. Yeah, so that was, of course, that was only on traditional pay-per-view. There was no other way to watch All In. So those pay-per-view buys were going to be that high. All In, AEW just will have to do what they can to build off of this momentum. You had 54% of people who had not watched Double or Nothing, probably didn't watch the other events, come and give your product a try. If they like your product, they will see you in October. I wish there was an event going on this month, maybe one of those like Fight for the Fallen type events that's free. They should have one more show that is just a showcase show. We get to see setup matches and stuff, but no, they wanted to do All Out, and then we're getting ready for October. But after October starts, we have another pay-per-view called Full Gear. Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega was announced for this pay-per-view. That is definitely great. There were from jackasses on Twitter is like, oh, isn't it great that they can just promote this match? They were like, somebody posted a tweet. I can't read it verbatim because I don't have it in front of me, but they pretty much implied that AEW, it's great that they can promote this match again, and hopefully something doesn't happen to Moxley or Omega that they have to cancel this match again and put it on the next pay-per-view next year. So pretty much that's what they were saying is like, oh, it just means to be great that they can redo this again. I hope that doesn't happen. And people are probably implying this. And honestly, there were people talking about Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley being the first time ever being on AEW TV. No. This is a pay-per-view built match for a pay-per-view. It got fucked up because of the MRSA infection in Jon Moxley's arm. Hopefully nothing else happens, and by the time we get to November 9th, this match will happen. Since the Elite versus Chris Jericho and two partners of his choosing are going to be going to be in a six-man tag match on that first episode, I fully expect to see Jon Moxley get involved with that match or after that match attacking Kenny Omega. And then when Jon Moxley faces Shawn Spears, I believe the very next week, same thing. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But also announced for Full Gear, which kind of does irk me a little bit, is that Chris Jericho will be defending his championship at Full Gear against Cody Rhodes. Now, on the base of wins and losses, this makes sense. There are fucking idiots out there like, oh, Cody, it just like Triple H for Cody Rhodes to book himself into this championship match. It's just like Triple H for Cody Rhodes to book him to win on his matches. Gee, it's kind of funny how you're talking about Cody Rhodes being the boss and he's the one booking these matches. Go watch Chris Van Vliet's interview with the Young Bucks. They don't have final say. Tony Khan has final say on everything. Young Bucks have wanted to lose every single one of their matches to put others over, but Tony Khan has told them no, they're going over in X, Y, and Z. So Cody Rhodes versus Chris Jericho makes sense on win-loss basis. He's only had two singles matches, but they've been against Dustin and they've been against Shawn Spears, and he's won both of them and put on two fantastic matches. Now, this will be the second title defense, and the only problem I have with the fact that this match is happening or been announced already is that we have a title defense on October 16th. Who is going to face this show? Who's going to face Chris Jericho? I don't know. But you've taken all the intrigue out of this match. Because honestly, in my opinion, whoever's going to face Chris Jericho in that first match is going to lose. But who is it going to be? Is this going to be a heel tactic where Chris Jericho puts it on the line against some jobber? I hope the hell not, because that would be WWE-esque, and that's something I don't want to see. But who is it going to be? Hopefully, with this whole stolen title thing, maybe that's where we get a title match. Maybe that's where we get maybe this Wardlow guy ends up being the person who took it and ends up getting a title match where he ends up losing. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I would hope that the Full Gear match would not be announced. They could have did this so much differently. You have the title match on October 16th. That's 3 weeks going in. There's still 3 weeks of TV after that. Chris Jericho wins that match, and then Cody Rhodes comes out while Chris Jericho's celebrating, hits him with the Crossroads, and then says, Chris Jericho, I'll see you at Full Gear, and just drops the title, or drops the mic on him, and then that's it. You set it up that way. Just naming it now, yes, it makes sense on win-loss basis, as he hasn't lost a singles match. He only lost a tag team match. But I just feel like they pushed it a little bit too early, because you have Sammy Guevara versus Cody Rhodes. What if Cody loses to Sammy Guevara by heelish tendencies? Maybe Sammy Guevara wins with the roll-up by getting his legs on the ropes. You don't know. We don't know. We still have 3 weeks to go, 6 weeks to go of TV before we get to Full Gear. They could have named this after the championship match on the 16th. That has been a lot of people's complaints of this match, is that it's been named before the first title defense, which is supposed to be on week 3. Who the fuck's going to face Chris Jericho then? It wouldn't be Cody anyway. That would have been absolutely a crying shame if you would have had Cody versus Chris Jericho on TNT instead of on Full Gear, because then the question would have been, who is he going to face after that? No. I have no idea who Chris is going to face on that third episode of TNT, but I think we should have got that title match out of the way before you announced Cody versus Chris Jericho. Starrcast 4, apparently, Carmen Thompson came out during Starrcast 3 and was like, there's no plans to do a Starrcast 4. Well, he was fooling you all, or he was like playing you all, because apparently Starrcast 4 has been announced for Baltimore, Maryland. The convention will run November 7th through Sunday, November 10th, with the help from Jimmy's Famous Seafood, which often welcomes pro wrestlers when they are in town. Full Gear takes place on Saturday, November 9th from Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. AEW Full Gear tickets go on sale this Friday, went on sale this Friday, along with the Go Home Show episode. But Starrcast announced that their shows will Starrcast announced tonight they will be going on sale Thursday at noon. This past Thursday, so tickets are on sale now. My biggest gripe with Starrcast 4 is that we've already had 2 this year. Starrcast should be All Out weekend, and that's it. Tony Khan has already mentioned how All Out is going to be coming back to the CS Centers every single year. I think it needs to stay at the CS Center, and I think All Out needs to stay in that area every single year. All Out with Starrcast, but no, this is the third Starrcast this year. They did it in Vegas, they did it in the CS in Chicago, and now they're going to do it in Baltimore. And it would be worse, of course, if they were doing a monthly pay-per-view and said we're going to do Starrcast every single month. But I don't think that we need to have it in November. I think Starrcast needs to be held off until All Out next year, because you're going to run out of ideas and out of things to do. Like, you have legends coming in and they tell stories, and the more you do this, the stories are going to be repeated, and it's just going to be like, no. And it's like, you got to try, and here's the thing, you also got to try and top what you did last time. Of course, they tried to get Undertaker and Kurt Angle at Starrcast 2. They got CM Punk for Starrcast 3, which trumped everything they did at Starrcast 2. What are they going to do for Starrcast 4? I have no idea. How are they going to go over the top CM Punk at Starrcast 3? Who knows? Probably nobody. I have no clue. But the only positive I can say for Starrcast being in Vegas, being in Chicago, and being in Baltimore is that it gives people in the area who don't have the ability to go to Chicago or Vegas, the ability, if you live in the Baltimore, the Baltimore area or in that area, you can get tickets and you can go to Starrcast because it's going to be closer to you. Maybe you wanted to go to Starrcast 2 and 3 and you couldn't. That's a positive there, but in my opinion, it kind of takes away the specialness of Starrcast. You had it once last year because it was only All In and we didn't know what was going on with AEW at the time because it didn't exist yet. Then you had Starrcast 3 at Double or Nothing, then you had Starrcast 2 at Double or Nothing, and then you had Starrcast 3 at All Out, and now you have it at 4 at Baltimore. Like I said, outside of it, the fact that you have people in those areas, maybe people who want to go to Starrcast in Baltimore or in states around that don't want to make the trip to Chicago or Las Vegas. Now they're like, ooh, Baltimore, people Washington, D.C., which is going to be close by where they're going to have their first episode of TNT. Those people in that area are going to be like, wow, Starrcast is going to be nearby. I'm going this time because I didn't want to really go to Chicago and I didn't want to go to Vegas. That's the only positive that I can see out of this. We'll have to see, but if you live in the Baltimore area or you want to go to Starrcast 4 and you did not go to 1, 2, or 3, here's your chance. TV rating for AEW on TNT is going to be TV 14. We are not going to be PG, however. AEW has sent out information to cable providers for their debut episode on October 2nd. It is noted that the show was rated TV 14 and not TV PG like in WWE. According to Wrestling Observer, TNT had made the decision a while to have the show be TV 14, while TNT and AEW have agreed to produce a more edgy show than WWE. TNT provided them specific rules regarding the lines they can't cross. The show will also categorize as sports event opposed to sports entertainment. AEW has yet to officially announce the name of the show. However, AEW president told Wrestling Inc. at All Out this Saturday that it will not be simply called All Elite Wrestling. Can it not just be called AEW on TNT, like the NBA on TNT? Really? You just can't call it AEW on TNT?
It's not going to be called All Elite Wrestling because I think it would be confusing between the company and the name of the show. If that ain't a shot at Impact Wrestling, I don't know what to tell you. It debuts on October 2nd. Let me see here. How much more do we got here? I think, this would be about it. Sean Spears talks, and we're going to finish this off with a story from Sean Spears to talk about how much about his WWE run and how AEW changed the game. Sean Spears recently spoke with Muscle and Fitness to talk AEW, WWE training, his goals for the future, and more. The interview was recorded before Spears lost to Cody Rhodes at AEW's All Out. Spears is a regular member of the AEW roster and seems to be very excited about his future with the company. He made it clear that he believes the company was raised the bar. He is asked how excited he is about being part of AEW and about the buzz surrounding the promotion. Spears says AEW is changing the game. You said exactly what it is, an alternative product. We are beyond excited to bring something new. The tide raised all ships, you know. AEW is that tide, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. I'd say it loud and proud. AEW has raised the bar. Everyone is doing their product, and their talent to be loyal fans. It has built the same point. We've already started, but we hit the ground running on August 31st. And then 1 month later, we will be worldwide with regular television on a worldwide basis. AEW is changing the game. And going back to their TV rating, TV 14, there's not going to be hardcore matches. There's not going to be thumbtacks. There's not going to be glass. There's not going to be F-bombs left and right. There's going to be good matches, storylines that hopefully make sense all the time, even though I know things can change. Just a much better product. And yes, them going TV 14 while WWE is PG is 100% an alternative. Anybody thinks this is a war still, you are absolutely stupid. This is an alternative. AEW is TV 14 while WWE is PG. Regarding his time with WWE, the former Ty Dillinger said he was pigeonholed by it for a long time. Spears says he was unable to break through the glass ceiling, but that has changed as he has taken his career into his own hands. He was asked about not now being his time to shine after making other wrestlers look good for so long. I take great pride in being able to work with anybody, whether it be brand new talent, whether it's someone who has been in wrestling for 4 or 5 years, or even 15 to 20. I take pride in being able to cover the spectrum when it comes down to match preparation, execution. But that can also pigeonhole you. And I was pigeonholed for quite a long time. On one hand, I was very reliable when they needed me. WWE needed to do something. I was there and I got it done. But at the same time, I couldn't break through the glass ceiling that seemed to be placed over my head. Now that has changed. I've taken my career into my own hands, been given the opportunity to be on a worldwide platform in AEW with no restrictions. Now this is all on me. There's no more, oh well, maybe you're being held back, or it's not him, it's creative. I want all that out of the way. I want everything to fall on my shoulders now, regardless of what happened. When I'm 7 years old, I can look back and say that I did this my way. I wanted to, on my terms, and I gave it everything I got. Absolutely, he was pigeonholed. Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn did not like the 10 chants. He would go out there and people would be chanting 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. In matches he wasn't in, when the referee was counting the 10 count to see if they could get counted out, people would say 10, 10. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was 10, 10, 10. It got so fucking annoying. Chris Jericho put a sin penalty in his sin counters. But that was no excuse to not using him. He got pigeonholed and got told pretty much we're just going to use you as an extra. You're going to be someone who goes out there, you're going to make others look good, and that's that. They wanted to kill the 10 chants, and quite honestly, the 10 chants just never went away until he finally left. I don't think we've heard 10 chants at all since he's left WWE. But it also comes to the fact that WWE just did not know how to use him. He was great in NXT, but then he brought up to the main roster and he did nothing. WWE's loss is AEW's gain. He got to the Battle Royal at Double or Nothing, and he looked like a bigger star just in the Battle Royal than he did in all of his time on the main roster in WWE. Then we got to Fyter Fest, and he takes that chair and wraps it around Cody's head, and he becomes the most talked about person for a bit, in some good ways and some bad ways. And then he has a fantastic match with Cody Rhodes at All Out, and he is on the fast track to possibly being a contender in the future, not now, but in the future for the AEW Heavyweight Championship. I'm hoping AEW down the road does give us a fourth championship, a mid-card title, because quite honestly, you have so much talent. Not everybody could be in the heavyweight championship picture that you need a mid-card title. Hopefully that title will be coming by the middle of next year. I know they want to focus on the tag team, the world, and the women's championship, but eventually we need that fourth title. We need that championship. It took NXT about 3-4 years to get that championship on their brand. Eventually AEW is going to need to do the same thing, or there's going to be a lot of talent fighting for nothing, fighting to get their win count up, where they go to eventually hopefully get a championship spot and might not be able to get it. But Ty Dillinger, aka Ty Dillinger, Sean Spears, is got a great future ahead of him. Hopefully we'll see him doing great things in AEW. And we are 3 weeks away, coming up 3 weeks away from AEW on TNT. And hopefully the next Road to TNT will actually have a goddamn name for it, because the first episode of Road to TNT was just a flashback to All Out. Kind of disappointed. But that is your Unscripted for September 8th, 2019. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter and twitch.tv/TheFrontsClub, and I will see you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Raw. Until then, you guys have a good one.